Hey, imagine waking up all broken in the middle of a cave, after getting kicked by a horse and rolling down a hill. That's what happens. A disaster, right? Now combine that with a bizarre blue light lifting you into the air, and a voice from beyond saying, "You are the chosen one." That's how the lazy Enroque, who just wanted to sleep peacefully, got caught up in a legendary swordsman's mess and the fate of the world. Little did he know the adventure was just beginning. Get ready, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Triple kill combo in the algorithm. If you don't do it now, you'll fall into the gray loot for the rest of the week. There's more to come. Let's go. Our story begins under a beautiful sky, looking like a movie set. Then a monk appears asking someone, "Do you want to know about the reason for honor?" They're talking about a guy, huh? Now we are introduced to the living master Buddha Musan, who is basically a guy that knows everything. The studious skinny one is all excited, saying that those who understood what happened with Ona are compiling a bunch of materials that look forced. The monk begins to explain that Young Ho, the radiant martial sovereign, was a cool guy, benevolent and just. For some reason, Buddha must have sent him to them. The excited scholar starts taking notes and says that it's everything he imagined. He asks the monk how Young Ho was in his life. Just fine, but the monk is clearly sitting in discomfort, like someone in a work meeting. Then, suddenly, the monk can't keep it together and starts cursing the honor, saying he can't do this. Crazy. The scholar, who just fell from the sky, simply didn't know how to react. Cut to the scene of the Peng clan from Rio Bay where things are heating up. We see the scholar being expelled from the Peng clan. Go screw yourself. Then a supreme elder, Peng from Jake, appears, looking like an explosion of anger because of the topic. In a year, he's so angry that even the walls aren't escaping it. He asks the scholar, with all the rage in the world, "Why a human trash like you? You see, I take the pair about." The old man orders to bring a bag of salt to throw in the scholar's face, and the shocked scholar can only stay stunned by the constant reactions of the crowd when Onho's name is mentioned. Then there's an explanation about a Ho, or radiant martial sovereign, who is almost a god. This guy was legendary. He ended the age of chaos. He is described as a true knight, slapping society in the face. Some call him the greatest of all time, others call him the greatest warrior. A knight type, wow. Then we see the scholar leaving in a way, trying to use the Kigon technique. He wonders why people avoid talking about a row, like I'm reading. He thinks he has to record even the rotten parts of history, and today he must discover why. Then we are introduced to the rabid dog of the Beggar sect. The rabid dog laughs a lot upon learning that the scholar was kicked out of the ground in the camping. The scholar confirms and says that the reactions were all similar everywhere. As soon as he mentioned the name Don Ho, the rabid dog interrupts. Of course they would react that way. The scholar is like, wow. The main story starts about 100 years ago, in the Kiwil clan of Guangdong, and the hot Young Ho, in turn, was the worst kind of person that existed. Then we see Young Ho, 12 years old, half asleep, saying he wants to be the strongest. In that vibe, the rabid dog talks about the boy who dreamed of becoming the greatest in the skies. Born into a martial clan, he grew up learning to be a warrior, and the kid already knew that the way to the top was effort. However, for such a determined boy, there was a small problem. It was too late to start. That day we see his face lifting, heading towards the sunset. All that dramatic scene. The kid is there thinking, with the drama unfolding. And man, you've made it this far and still haven't subscribed. Are you asking for continuous damage from the algorithm? Click there. Activate the bell before the system throws you into a series of 30 episodes full of dialogue. Then he lies down again with his blanket and thinks, what a pity, today should have been the day I was going to excel in training. He decides he's going to sleep deeply and leave training for the next day. Then, hearing footsteps, someone appears in his room telling him to get up. Honestly, the person shouts for him to get up. Like, calm down, it doesn't have to be so radical. Young Ho gets up somewhat reluctantly. We are introduced to the patriarch of Clan Y, a jugger, who asks where the son's responsibility is. The man says he saw the son, but he is lying down. The father gets angry, saying that he still needs to get up. A bold broom responds that this is because the sun is still setting. The father asks him how long he has been in bed. He says it has been 2 days or maybe 3, like only 1 day in bed. The beating. The father, calling the kid a dependent, says he has been lying down for 4 days. 4 days wrapped in a blanket. Is he crazy? The father asks if his back isn't hurting from lying down for so long. Even a bear would turn inside out from sweating so much. With a nervous giggle, I say that's why he gets up every once in a while. The father's anger only grows. With the yelling, he defends himself, saying he tried to train. But every time he opened his eyes, the sun had already set, and he still had to get up early and train the next day. While yelling, the father flips the bed and decides that today he will fix his son's rotten attitude. The raging dog, with a pun, says that the son of the Bitla clan from Guangdong is literally setting. The scene now shifts to the Bitla clan's office, where the patriarch is a bundle of nerves. The clan's administrator, Zhou Belgang, appears, asking if the patriarch is stressed. A second later, the master arrives. The patriarch asks who else it could be. The administrator tries to calm him, saying that Jerem will mature soon. The patriarch interrupts. It's all his fault, he messed everything up. He explained that John Han, the patriarch, went on a pilgrimage of martial duels, and as soon as John was 2 years old, they resolved all kinds of incidents. We saw the matriarch of the Eplon clan, Han San Han, and the Eplon children, Suryon the unborn one, and the firstborn, Eplon San Ho, and the clumsy Eplon Ho. He thought the journey would last up to 2 years at most. But, after 8 years, our hero returned home. Although he earned a title, he lost much more during that time. When he returned, his wife had turned into a voracious tiger and his son was a lazy bum. The boy sighs heavily. The administrator tries to calm him, saying there must still be a way. He asks the patriarch what that way would be. The administrator says he forgot that he will be back soon. The patriarch asks who is coming back, but soon he realizes who the administrator is. He reveals that after 3 years, he is back from the enemy's house. The patriarch smiles, thinking there is only one person he truly honors and fears. Meanwhile, someone appears behind Hanro. Hanro thinks, what the hell is this? He suddenly stops cold. Looking back, he sees his older brother. Now we are introduced to the eldest son of the Ian Sanho clan. Sanho asks how long Ian Hanro has been asleep. Nervous, Ian Hanro can only ask when Sanho arrived. Sanho, feeling clever, says he asked first. Hanro, with Sanuka, nervously falls silent. Sanuka looks intensely. You know? Hanro, filled with fear, says it is not what Sanuka is thinking. He tries to justify that he trained in the morning and only took a short nap. Sanuka asks him to prove he really trained. Hanro just affirms that he did. Like it's all good. Sanuka asks Hanro to use a technique and split an old woman in two. He wants to know how much Hanro has improved in 3 years. With the sword in hand, Hanro, reluctant, prepares himself. Samu asks what he is doing and urges him to go ahead, or tries to be clever, saying it's dangerous to do it inside the house. Samu, shouting, accepts the responsibility and asks Hanro to show what he knows. Hanro prepares, taking a deep breath. Then he steps forward, brandishing the sword, in a scene worthy of a fight. He tries to execute a sword technique, the dragon technique, but nothing happens. Hanro thinks, I messed everything up. This is going to be bad. Thus, Hu is disappointed. He says that 3 years have passed. 3 years. 3 years is enough time to learn to be less useless. And Hu has gotten worse. Dude, the scene shifts to the family dining room, where everyone is having dinner, and Hu is thinking he's going to have indigestion, for sure. The patriarch asks Sam how life has been in that memory, and if he faced any difficulties. Sam replies that everything was fine, and if there weren't any difficulties it wouldn't make sense. He believes this is essential for overcoming. The patriarch, looking worried, says Sam suffered a lot. Sam claims that the one who suffered the most was their father, who was away for so long. Man, Sanro simply mentioned that there is something out there. The matriarch, curious about this, tells him to ask what it is. Sanro responds that it is about Ionho. Everyone looks like they've just been startled. They think they need to take Ionho to the martial arts academy, like urgently. When they hear this, Ionho is in shock. It's a mix of surprise and horror movie-worthy terror. Cut to the scene of Guanggu Shingai saying that even Master Musan and Peng from Juki get mad just hearing Ionho's name. And then finally the epic story begins. On that outing, no one imagined that this lazy boy would shake the whole world. So Ionho was practically forced to face the martial arts academy. His family was a bit disappointed about it. Now we meet Ionho's younger sister Suryon, who is there all teary, asking him not to go. Meanwhile, his father laughs and tells him to come back as a man. Like the pressure is real. Ionho tries to comfort his sister, saying she doesn't need to cry and that he'll come back. But damn will he. From Gongo Tingei's point of view, Yusangro and Ionho's journey was pretty chill. Well, at least for Ionho. Ionho asks his brother, are you almost there? With a clueless look, Sanho replies that they still have 10 days left. Ionho's face is one of despair upon learning that there are 10 days remaining. Ionho simply can't believe it. Man, Sanho comments that they would have arrived in 5 days if Ionho knew how to ride a horse. So, the jab from way back is real. Ionho retorts that he has never ridden a horse before, as if to say, sorry brother. Sanho, being a good Samaritan, says he's not blaming Ionho, just answering. Ionho asks Sanho to take a break, asking if he knows how to navigate this hill, because the guy is too rested. He feels so exhausted that he thinks his back and butt are about to explode. Only Jesus can help. Seeing other people lying on a dead tree, Aru points to his Ru and says that those crazy guys are also resting. Sanru, seeing this, is surprised, kind of wondering if Ru's river is right. Sanyu gets off the horse, being curious, and Ho asks him what he's going to do now. Sanyu walks over to the lying bodies and starts to examine the situation. Ho asks what he's doing, already confused about the situation. Sanho says they arrived too late. The people lying there are all dead. The mood is heavy. Yanho, upon hearing this, gets extremely angry. It's over. Sanho shows Yanho something and reveals it's a technique called the indulgent palm. It used to be called the gallows palm, but with the rapes they changed the name. What the hell is this, man? Ah, I heard about the rapist. Yanho gets scared and asks if the guy is around. Then Yanho explains that the guy attacks women who are climbing the mountains. The bodies mean that Joy only ambushed them while trying to catch a woman. In other words, there's a woman in danger around here. All attention now. Sanho ordered Yanho to stay there and left, saying he'll come back like a hero of the story. Yanho shouts for him not to leave him in that situation with the corpses. What a disaster. Meanwhile, Sanho is already far away. The pressure is real. Yanho, frustrated, doesn't know what to do. He looks around and thinks, and now? He sees the horses and the bodies and thinks he's in the worst situation, with no way out. The sky darkens and the rain seems to be coming. Ron shouts, calling the man a liar, asking why he is taking so long. He thinks the man should have brought him along because the situation is critical. In his mind, he wonders if something bad happened to his brother. He thinks there's no way to take this long, or everything will go bad. Ron realizes he needs to do something. If he stays still, he might become tiger food. He can't hesitate. Suddenly, a storm catches Ron by surprise. He gets very scared. The rain starts pouring like in a horror movie scene. We see Ron, the horses, and the bodies all wet in the rain. He thinks, damn, I'm really screwed. He thinks about how he got into this mess. Ron tries to put the bodies on the horses' backs. They were in a fight and we agreed to leave the bodies behind because man, they might come back as tiger food. He can't bury them, it's raining and he needs shelter. Suddenly, the horses get restless and don't listen to Ron. Out of nowhere, a thunder strikes and one of the horses kicks Ron, who rolls down the hill and gets hurt. Ron wakes up all sore. His back is broken and he starts cursing the horses. When he gets up, he notices that he is inside a cave. He takes a relieved breath. He thinks he has finally found shelter from the rain. But, as if that weren't enough, the horses also return to the cave and make a mess. Ron ties up the horses. He thinks he can't even manage them. Seeing his own clothes all dirty, he reflects that chaos is in play. He would prefer to be at home, stress-free. He leaves a mark outside the cave so his brother can find him later. Not knowing what to do, the jaguar lies down to sleep. After a while, he wakes up hoping nothing bad has happened to his brother. He tries to convince himself that his brother is strong and will be fine. Thus, with the amateurishness, he begins to drift into a deep sleep. He starts to sleep profoundly, light and loose. After a little while, a blue light appears around a rum. The blue light envelops the rum and lifts into the air as if it were a scene from an anime. The light begins to take the sleeping Jonron away. Without warning, the light takes him into an invisible barrier. What the hell is this? After some time, Yamron wakes up in a strange place. He looks around and wonders where he is. The place looks like a cave similar to where he was before. He notices the different structure and thinks if he rolled somewhere deeper while he was sleeping. Suddenly, he hears a voice saying, "Destined human." He falls against the wall. When he looks up, he sees a mysterious blue spear of light. The voice says, "Welcome to the destined place, successor of my radiant sword." Yoron sends a message asking if the voice is speaking from that shining thing. The voice confirms and says it has transcended physical limits, speaking to Yoron beyond time and space. It asks him to accept its will and govern the world. That's quite a responsibility. Hearing this, Yoron shouts that it is a ghost. The voice tells him not to be afraid, that it is already dead. It only left its will there. The voice prepared for someone to accept its will untainted. John Rom thinks this situation is quite strange and familiar. It's like an empty cave in the will of a guy who has passed. With a sly little smile, he wonders if this isn't a chance from destiny. He begins to think that the heavens are rewarding him for being one. Cool guy. He thinks he doesn't need to go to martial arts training. He believes it's better to get strong right here. The old man's voice says there's no time. He tells him to accept the sword and to right the world's moral. A lot of responsibility. The voice promises to teach Jonron his radiant sword. It tells him to train non-stop. The voice comments that Jonron must be talented enough since he has the old man's blood. It says if he trains hard for 30 years, he might replicate the old man's technique. Hearing 30 years, Jonron's mind freezes. He says he doesn't think that fate is for him. Like, that's enough. The old man is left speechless, surprised, and asks Jonron. Jonron replies that he'd rather leave that aside than be stuck here for 30 years. Now we return to Guang and Sing's perspective. He says that this destined meeting feels lost. Hanro has become so certified. He tells the old man he doesn't think this is fate and tells him to find someone else. In the end, Hanro decides to take off. The old man shouts to wait. When Zhuao looks back, he sees the light transforming into an old man. Then we are introduced to Beck Murin. Seeing the old man, Zhuao concludes Xavier is right. The old man is a scammer, man. The old man asks, "How dare you call me a scammer?" Zhuao explains that the old man pretended to be something he wasn't, and showed his true self. The old man said he wasn't pretending. He was true, a spirit that left his body. The man gets suspicious and punches the old man. His hand passes through the old man and the crazy guy falls. The old man asks, "What are you doing? Come give me a hand." Passing through the old man, Hanro shouts that he is a ghost. It's true. The old man explains that this is the art of spirit transmission, something only top-level martial artists can use. This makes the old man furious. He yells at Hanro saying he is not a ghost, meaning he is quite offended. Cut to the scene of the raging dog. The raging dog, while telling the story, explains to the scholar that this is how Hanro met his master. Then the scholar asks, or does this spirit transmission art really happen? The raging dog quickly responds that this technique is only for top-level martial artists. You know? The young scholar asks, so who honestly is a martial artist who can use this? The angry dog pulls out and asks, do you know the Sword Emperor? That name carries weight, brother. The young scholar, quite clever, responds that it's obvious to him. Let's be real. The Sword Emperor is the strongest of all time. He is the greatest of the Back of the Thousand Swords Club and a true master who will be remembered for ages. The angry dog confirms, that's what I'm talking about. The Beggar, the Radiant Sword. The legendary Sword Emperor and master of the Radiant Martial Sovereign. The young scholar, who is no fool, feigns surprise and asks, but didn't the Sword Emperor die 300 years ago? The angry dog calmly answers yes. The Sword Emperor belongs to a generation that people have already forgotten. The scholar, simply because he is sinister, says, he must have asked to be a disciple of the Sword Emperor right away, right? But the angry dog responds it was quite the opposite. Actually, the Sword Emperor discovered that his descendants had not come to see him for 300 years. He was under a lot of pressure to find a disciple. Jan, confused, says, what's going on, man? I can't learn from you. I'm leaving. The old man retorts, saying he was full of himself. He wouldn't let the boy leave that easily. Then the old man simply closes the cave entrance. Man, Young-ho gets really angry about this. The old man starts laughing and asks what Young-ho thinks. With his Hanro skills, he will have to learn the old man's martial arts to break that stone and get out. Then Young-ho, not understanding anything, pulls out a sword. The old man already sees this and says, but man, I'm going over there. You couldn't cut that stone with this nonsense. But still, Young-ho starts scratching the wall. The old man is left speechless. Curious, the old man asks what Young-ho is shaking about. In his own way, he asks if the old man doesn't see that he is creating a hole. Look, if I keep this pace, although the stone is hard, it will break if he keeps rubbing. Mentally, there's going to be a wear down at this pace. He will manage to get out in 1 or 2 years. Then the old man quite awkwardly asks, are you going to get involved in this job for 1 or 2 years? While he laughs, Zhou comments that it's quite rich coming from someone who mentioned being interned for 30 years. The old man gets furious, and he thinks that this bastard is a madman. He can't even beat him to stop talking nonsense. He tries to be patient and tells Young-ho that it's time for him to really try to learn and not disappoint the kid. But then Young-ho blurted out, I don't like you, old man. The old man, responding, says he will let Hanho go after 20 years. Right then, Hanho jumps in and replies that 20 years is a long time. If the old man had said 3, maybe he would consider it. In the old man's mind, he thinks about how much of a bastard Hanho is. But, with a smile on his face, the old man asks, do you really want to learn martial arts for 3 years? He knows that even if Zhang Sensen came back to life, it wouldn't be possible. Then Hanho, standing up, says he thinks they weren't made for each other. The old man is purple with rage and lets out a quick curse toward Hanho that we can't hear. Soon after, he changes the subject and says he needs 5 years. He offers Hanho a 5-year plan and promises to make him the strongest in the world. Hearing this, he thinks, the strongest man in the world in 5 years? And here's the thing, Young-ho has never seen a spirit as vibrant as the old man's. With a disgusted look, he concludes that maybe this technique isn't exactly passed down from mouth to mouth. This old man could very well be the strongest master in the world. So, he decides that he'll give it a chance to become a better master. Thus, Young-ho implies that it's okay, he will try. We return to the scene with the rabid dog, where he says of course Young-ho had no idea that the old man was the Emperor of the Sword. It's a bit ironic that the Emperor of the Sword was also unlucky, since the last one he met was a slacker. The old man is furious, calling Hanho a bastard and telling him to wake up. Hanho, in a good mood, responds that he's tired and asks if the old man doesn't sleep. It's worth noting, right? He's still human and humans need to sleep. Then he asks, does the old man not know this? Beggar, the Emperor of the Sword, cursed everyone. And he tells Hanro that he sat too much, man, but he has to train. But Young-ho spent the whole day sleeping and only made 1 move during training. The Emperor of the Sword, always frustrated, shouts that at this rate it will take 50 years to learn, not 5. In despair, Young-ho asks if there isn't an easier way to learn. The old man replies that in fact it is already easy enough. Young-ho is so furious that it would be easier if the old man just stayed quiet. Therefore, he is trying to find a talented master. The old man is red with anger and nearly veering off. If he had a body, the Sword Emperor truly wants to pass on his arts, but he is struggling to heal from this deplorable condition. If he had a body, he would beat Young-ho up and then finish it. So we see Young-ho lying down, tossing and turning, looking for a way to escape. Suddenly, he begins to call the old man master and asks how he performed that feat. The old man asks what exactly. Young-ho mentions the breaking down of the stone gate and questions why the old man can't use that power to teach the boy. The old man, with an air of mystery, explains that he just pulled a rope from equipment he had already prepared. Young-ho, intrigued, asks how he did that since he doesn't have a body. The old man quickly responds that it has nothing to do with having a body. He simply used psychic levitation to pull the rope. Then the old man had a eureka moment. He began to laugh and reflected on why he hadn't thought of this before. While he continues laughing, Young-ho is there, not understanding. He asks the old man what is happening to him, if he has gone crazy. The old man explains that he was so focused on thinking about the lack of a body that he didn't notice he could still move the stones. In the end, thanks to Young Ho, he learns something new. The boy then asks what the old man is murmuring, but suddenly something crosses Young Ho's mind. At first, he doesn't quite understand what it is, but soon he spots a stone in the wall. While laughing, the old man reveals that, although he doesn't have a body, he can still move stones whenever he wants. Young Ho is completely terrified and takes a step back. The old man, with his new ability, flings some stones while saying he can do this. Young Ho, desperate, asks the old man to stop and insists that he just wants to talk, but the old man ignores him and sends the stones flying towards Young Ho. After that day, the training of Beggar and Young Ho continued relentlessly. The boy spent the day training in swordplay and at night debating with the old man. Whenever Young Ho slept, he tried to use the mystical arts of dreams that Beggar taught him. Life became the sword. In this routine, the boy had no time to be lazy. Thus, in the blink of an eye, 5 years passed. When Young Ho finally appeared again, he shook the world. One day before leaving, while Young Ho was comfortably in bed, the old man shouted. He got up with a sleepy face and replied that he just wanted to sleep more. Young Ho's expression was one of surprise. We see the old man calm, sitting cross-legged. He calls Young Ho to come closer, and calmly says that the martial arts audience has always been his hope, to see the end of it all. Thus, he no longer cared about anything other than martial arts. In the end, this focus made him a grumpy old man that nobody wanted around. Young Ho thinks, what's up with the old man today? Because, look, he's very different from how he usually is. The old man continues saying that, reflecting on things, it became clear why his clan didn't show up after everything. He distanced himself from the family for the art. Because of the old man, he clearly abandoned children and family. Our hero believed that seeing the end of martial arts would give him everything he wanted, but he was completely wrong. Martial arts are so much more than that. They are the essence of what it means to be human. Ignoring social connections and focusing only on seeing around the corner makes no sense. Hanro helped the old man realize this. The old man who first taught was mad and irritated, but at the same time felt happiness and joy watching Hanro develop. He even learned about affection, calling the old man master. Hanro asks what's going on with him. The old man acts as if they would never see each other again. The old man confirms this by saying it is time for him to leave. Hanro, hearing this, panics and asks what the old man is talking about. In disbelief, he thinks he will not accept this situation. The old man reminds him that they were supposed to train together for 30 years, but only 5 have passed. He needs to exist for another 25 years. The old man did say that, but that internal chi he gave to Hanro in the form of an elixir would allow Hanro to live without eating, and that is not as simple to maintain as he thought. The old man no longer has power, and now it is time to say goodbye. Hanro, sad and panicking, asks the old man why he didn't say this earlier. If he had told him, Hanro wouldn't have left. He would have found food and returned to train. The old man reflects that if Hanro leaves this place, he doubts he would return. The old man understands how Hanro feels. As he stands up, he remembers the time they spent together. The old man wanted to see Hanro travel and experience the world, but in a way this is fine too. The old man looked at Hanro with affection in his eyes. He clearly saw Hanro exploring the world. He tells Hanro to go see the world and carry that experience within him. Then, other things would naturally come. He advises Hanro to see people first before diving into the world. The old man, while looking up, did not notice what was around him. He warns Hanro not to make the same mistakes he made. Even if the old man may never see Hanro again and no one else knows of his existence, Hanro's movements and his fencing have the old man within them. As they fade away, the last words of the Sword Emperor Beckman can be heard, telling Hanro to be happy. And then we see Hanro crying, complaining that the old man could have said something. Before returning to the present, we see Young Ho clearly irritated. He then realizes that this was why the old man left without telling him. Young Ho holds a cloth. He wonders when the old man piled all this up. He says the old man should have left quietly. He shouts, "What the hell is this?" Before disappearing, Beggar left a message on Young Ho's clothing. The message summarized that the martial arts Young Ho learned in 5 years were still incomplete. Since Young Ho wouldn't train after the old man's disappearance, Beggar placed a resource in his body. This resource is the internal elixir that Hanro swallowed, making his martial arts automatically improve. It may seem like he will become stronger this way, but the situation is more complicated. If Joao's progress in martial arts is slower than the speed of the elixir, his internal energy will be drained by Beggar, and Joao is prone to collapse. In summary, Joao will die if he relaxes in training. Annoyed, Youngu thinks that old bastard was not a good person. The other message in the plan was to travel the world and see different things. When Youngu looks at the world, he will feel new emotions, and by feeling he will learn. The old man tells Hanro not to be content with being a small person in a small place. He wants Hanro to see great things and become a great person. The first place Hanro should go is Hanline. He needs to find the greatest scholar in the world and stand beside him. Yang Kong will surely feel something. We see Yang Kong saying he is heading home, but he will return after he resolves everything. Yang Kong knows he must do what he has to do. So, he says goodbye to the master and heads to Han Lane. In front of the cave, Baek Morin appears. He lets out a devilish laugh and calls Hanho dishonored. He says that if he doesn't learn about the world, he will surround himself like a bomb and die. What kind of martial arts could exist in a place like this? Baek Morin could let Hanho live in some deserted place. The world is too vast for that. With a happy and satisfied face, Jack Moran is indignant about the waste of Ho-Ho's martial arts. The scene shifts to Kai Feng. Now we see a new version of Oro. He has been starving for days. He looks more like a skeleton. He reaches the front of a beggar. Here we meet Yongguel, the leader of the Beggar's sect branch. Looking at Yongko, Yongguel wonders who this mummy is. Yongko appeared because he had a question. Yongguel questions about money. Yang wants to know if he needs to pay. The beggar says of course nothing in this world is free. While observing, John Yang realizes that his voice seems to be only 20 years old, but his face has already passed 50. John Yang really wanted to help for free since they are in the same situation. But that's the rule. John asks about the same situation. John films, saying they are both beggars. Yanko wonders how he looks like a beggar. Janggale films that he is clearly a beggar. So, if Yanko doesn't have money, Janggale cannot give information or anything. He tells Aeon Coelho to leave and come back when he has money. I'm going to ask why he should beg if he isn't a beggar. Janggale answers harshly that it's not because beggars beg, but because once someone starts begging, they automatically become one. Janko seemed like he could earn some coins just by putting a basket in front of him. So, why is he wasting his talents? Janggale suddenly asks if Hanho wants to work with him. And then we see a bunch of money in front of Hanho. Janggale is all happy, and by noon has already managed to gather half year of operational courses for the branch. Yes, the guy is the god of wealth. Janggale asks Young Ho what he wants to know. Young Ho asks for a list of places, hobbies and specialties of famous scholars and blacksmiths. Janggale agrees to walk, but asks Young Ho to come back in 7 days. Young Ho lies down and says he has nowhere to go and nothing to do, so he will stay here. Janggale responds, fine. A few days later, Janggale begins to regret those words. One of the beggars runs up to Janggale saying there is trouble happening. Janggale asks what the problem is. What kind of problem could the beggars have? The beggar thinks they will starve and takes Janggale to the location. Janggale is shocked by what he sees. A transient calls the beggars wretches. He says that if they want to be beggars, they need to at least be at Young Ho's level. And we see mummy Young Ho making money just by sitting on the road. Janggale is terrified and surprised. Money is raining down on Young Ho. Young Ho laughs and comments, making money is easy. He starts to dominate the world of beggars. We see Young Ho saying he is thirsty. While lying down, he calls Singwell to bring water. Man, look at this. When they bring the water, he complains. This is unfair. The bowl is dirty. Janggale, filled with rage, charges at the beggar who finally brought the water. And Young Ho, in the midst of the chaos, is only upset because the water is warm. This is absurd. Meanwhile, Janggale kicks the beggars as if it were soccer. Lying on his stomach and laughing with sarcastic glee makes Janggale even more furious. Janggale thinks to himself and imagines what it would be like to be a leader of the beggar city, but in reality he is more like a certain stupid beggar. Suddenly, the realization hits. If Janggale expels Young Ho, his guys will starve. It's a dilemma and a bitter doubt. When will the information Young Ho requested arrive? This is tough. If this keeps up, our hero is going to see the sun rise square. Then one of the beggars appears running as if he were a messenger of good news. He is shouting that the information has finally arrived. Then Janggale, who was full of anger, also relaxes and feels happy with the news. So he takes a look at his formation and asks Janggale if that's all. Like, where is the rest? Janggale, all confused, wonders if he really wants to live something with a cripple. $5, what the hell? Janggale then asks the question, what do you mean by that? He takes a paper from Ron's hands, as if he were holding a bingo card. While reading, he thinks, these bastards are really trying to bury us. Vipers. This is only half of what Ron asked for. In other words, he's in trouble. Janggale, aware of the mess, concludes that he needs to do something soon. Then he asks if the lack of information is because he didn't pay enough. Damn it. Janggale pulls the mess to another corner to get real information. Cut to a female figure standing, dramatically calling Janggale a fox bitch. She tells the truth about how rare it is to see Janggale around. Then we meet Goi Naneng, the leader of the Kaifeng cult branch. Janggale tries to behave and greet the leader. In the meantime, there's a circle of laughter and they call out Janggale's title. He's a bitch. Pressured, Janggale admits he needs information. While Young Ho is busy, he finds the Mandarite bitch. Leader Goi finds it surprising. Memorable, she mentions that the leader of the beggars cult from Kaifeng is coming to gather information. She confidently states that Janggale is aware of the rivalry. She asks Jung what he is doing in the Gaifeng cult. Janggale responds that he's not asking anything from the beggars cult and that he only brought a customer. The leader asks if Janggale is joking with her. She warned that it's not the beggars cult that is asking, but the customer is a beggar. Go-E doesn't believe this is a provocation. She is clear, there's no information to sell to the beggars cult. Then Janggale messes up and says he's not from the beggars city. Turning her back, Goya warns that if they keep mocking, she will take action. She made it clear that his pride is at stake. Young Ho asks if the cult of the house isn't an intelligence organization. He still asks if she doesn't know if he is from the Beggar's cult. He says she keeps selling information without knowing anything. Thus, Young Ho tells leader Goe that she doesn't even know the basics. She listens and signals to the guards. Gomo asks who this Young Ho is. Gomo responds that he doesn't know about Young Ho, but he's not from the Beggar's cult. Lily doesn't like any of this and is already irritated. Young Ho lets out a bell and even asks if she can sell him information now. Clearly pissed off, leader Goya responds no, and that she never wants to help him. She tells them to get out. Hanro, laughing, says she knows nothing about business. He tries to convince her to accept, but she remains firm in her refusal. Hanro is sure that the acceptance of the house has its days numbered. Then leader Goya warns that it's better for Hanro to watch his mouth, or he will see pieces of himself cut off. Hanro lets out a mama, or maybe I'm wrong, is he? He even calls Goya old. The camera focuses on the old woman's face and her expression. I'm sorry, but I can't describe what she's feeling. It's intense. Leader Goya asks Ion Hanro if he's backtracking, then tells Golo to teach Ion Hanro a little moral lesson. Suddenly, a masked man appears, coming towards Ion Hanro with the intent to attack him. With one hand, Golo almost reaches Ion Hanro. He pushes Jangil aside and punches Gomu hard. Gomu falls face down on the ground, unconscious, and the situation has become serious. Leader Goya is completely stunned, and the same goes for Jangil. She shouts that Hanro is a hell of a master. Hanro, in all humility, apologizes, saying it was just self-defense instinct. He would have backed off if it weren't for the average coming at him. And Gangil, thinking about all this, concludes that Joinho did learn, but he didn't imagine how strong the guy really was. He even thinks that Joinho is basically the monster of training. Meanwhile, Joinho is there, stitching the Oka and saying that all of this is that old man's fault. He, somewhat stuttering, responds that he didn't know a mistake was so different, but gives a warning because it seems their intentions are not good. Jano tries to defend herself, saying that she won't believe it, but he's just here asking for help. He makes it clear that the Cintados Mendigos couldn't get the information they needed. Erge then asks if that's why Jenga brought a roll. He confirms it. Erge responds that bringing a tiger to a rabbit's den is synonymous with asking for something very strange. Jenga admits it's hard to believe, but the truth is he's serious. Leader Goya, finally believing, says it's okay. Jenga thanks her as if he won the lottery. But Leader Goe warns that Jenga's information is not the same thing. She says that Gengul's client hurt one of hers. Then she demands compensation. She states that in the world of cults, it's eye for eye, blood for blood, a life for a life. Soon she calls her guards, known as the Four Shadows. These guys, although dark and threatening, appear like a circus performance. One, spinning, with a sarcastic smile, comments that everyone has their way of presenting in this place. Goe explains that she doesn't know who the Hanro is that came to do this. However, since he hurt someone, he won't get away unscathed. One, brushing, poses a rhetorical question about how this is so hard to understand. He says it was just a mistake. He only slightly hurt the guy due to his defense. G, with a sour expression, curses. The Hanro warns that in the orthodox wall, the rule is eye for eye and tooth for tooth. Young Ho grimaces and says that sounds like loan shark talk. Young Ho asserts they will take a chunk of his face and end this. The pink one apologizes for ruining the vibe. Yet, he warns he doesn't have much fat to cut since he's starving. The leader, already fed up, decrees that the Four Shadows must kill Young Ho. Then, the Four Shadows attack. Young Ho, with an unconcerned look, wonders why they are so aggressive. They were just trying to take a piece, but apparently that's interest. He mocks, saying it's scary. In an instant, they defeat them with one blow. Her expression doesn't even need to be mentioned. And, apologizing once more while the Four Shadows are still falling, the Hanro shouts, "No one is born a sent one." And, soloing, he states he doesn't want to kill anyone yet. Then Jangle is speechless. Things are tense. Goe looks at the Hanro with the face of someone sending in the martial master. The Hanro recalls his master's words, stating that if someone is going to attack once, they will attack multiple times. Therefore, it's better to prevent than to remedy the situation. It's getting tense. The battle can be truly unpredictable. Our hero Young Ho has no sympathy at all. He never gave reasons to be treated this way. With a terrified expression, branch leader Goe realizes she has gotten herself into something she shouldn't have. Young Ho is not exactly someone she can handle. She needs to pull herself together quickly. Because, if I slip up, the entire branch of the house's acceptance could go to ruin. So now, I gather myself. I ask him what he wants. He asks for information. She asks what kind of information he is looking for. The junk has the papers. I hope she can handle it while looking at the paper. Gay thinks that Jangle brought a real monster as an RO for acceptance. These guys couldn't resolve any silly issue. The Goe isn't complicated. She just needs a little time to get by. She asks the RO if he can hold it for a bit. The RO agrees right away. The Goe asks for 15 minutes, looking angry. She calls Jangle to come along. After a while, Jangle returns, and Zhuo starts laughing at him. He says Jangle's face looks like a little cake. Curious, he asks if the guide hit the poor guy. Joang continues saying that he thinks the acceptance from the beggars is nothing, considering how much they are suffering from the house's acceptance. Dingel asks if that looks like a mere common member of the house's sect. He remembers she is the daughter of the sect leader. She is being prepared to be the new leader. She keeps stuffing herself with miracle pills like they are snacks. She had it all good, so how could Jangge be competition for her? In the middle of this, Gay appears behind Jangge. She brings information in a shout. I thank Gay and continue explaining that they have their own rules. Did Jack lie or not? Information fees. One Goal wants to know how much it will cost now. He says 5 inang, handing over 5 bronze inang and a rock. That this is very cheap considering where it is. But John Gol runs, Zhuao Rao, saying that inang is silver. Then comes the question, why is this so expensive? Now I explain that this is actually high security information, which is why the price. Then Yongo gets upset and starts to leave. I ask where he is going. Yongo replies that he needs to earn some. Hearing this, Jangol throws himself on the ground grabbing Hongo's leg. He says that he brought the kid here for a reason. I ask what that means. Jangol clearly reluctant, and Yongho waits a second. Jangol used all the money that Yongho had earned plus the secret stash to gather the 5 silver nyang he didn't have. He borrowed money and IOU, delivering money from the Angos, the Heart Titans. Young, a wicked bastard, takes a look at the information. Young comments that this is really complete. It is another league compared to the information that the beggars bring. Young concludes that the guys accept from the house too, a whole different level. Holding a piece of paper, he asks if there will be a way to send a letter to Gondong. He wants to know if this will be expensive. Guai warns that it will be more expensive than a courier agency, but she does this in exchange for Young answering some questions. She asks Hanho his name and age. Hanho replies that his name is Il Hanho and that he is 17 years old. Yang is shocked to find out that Hanho is younger than him. Now hearing that Hanho is only 17, he wonders how someone so young has such martial talent. She remembers his name, Ilion. She realizes and asks if Ilion is the second son of the Ilion clan of Guangdong. Ilion asks if she knows him. Guai replies yes, the Ilhonde Guangdong clan asks to find Ilhon Ho. Zhang Lei asks if he is Sanho's older brother. Hanho asks if Zhang Lei knows his older brother. Zhang Lei reveals that Sanho is his friend. Guan Ha asks if Leonho is sending a letter to the Ile clan of Gondong. She informs that it will take at least 10 days to arrive. Hanho says that it is all right. They have already waited 5 years. 10 more days won't make a difference. Gawaya hands over a red cloth, explaining that this marks someone as a special guest of the house sect. If Liango ties it wherever he wants, the informant mother of the house sect will find him there. She thinks that someone with enough skill to take down 4 swords at 17 is quite rare around here. Creating a connection with him will be good for them. Liango thinks that this is useless. The water then says that this time she will make an exception. She will give information for free. Next time, it is only for Yuno. They don't want to lose Ro as a client because of what happened before. A Ro laughs, saying that nothing really happened, right Young? Poor him, with a face like someone who lost everything, he looks like a crushed cupcake. Now he comments that this happens all the time to those who live at rock bottom. Light the 4th one out. And Jangge, he is there, downcast, thinking about the money he lost. And Young looks like someone carrying the weight of the world. He shrugs, saying money comes and goes. Damn, the miner shouldn't be so greedy. He tells Jiang to explore his routes. Jiang is frustrated, thinking he can't even punch this guy. But anyway, he got the information he wanted, so it's cool for them not to see each other again. Pulling Young, Aru says, we have a big problem here. Jiang wanted to beat him up, but it's not happening. The scene shifts to the sex branch at home, where Goda is lost in thought. She calls Gomu and asks him to send a letter to the main sect, informing that the second son of the Willy clan from Gongdong, who was missing, has returned as a true martial master. Meanwhile, Yunho arrives at the Grand Running Institute. It is right here that we meet Song Li. At the Grand Running Institute, we see a scholarly man sitting by the lake, enjoying a peaceful cup of tea. This is Mu and Han, the 3rd great scholar. His daughter appears, telling him that he has a guest. Thus we meet Johan's daughter, Moon Unity. Johan declares that today the schedule is clear. His daughter comments that the guest wants to play a game of Go with him. Go is like ancient chess, but more intense and tense. The 2 players place stones on a giant board to try to dominate territory. The winner is the one who surrounds the most space. It seems simple, but it's a mental battle. Just hearing about Go, Han gets all excited. Unity brings an invitation. I just hope I'm not bothering you. And Han assures her that she isn't. It's always a pleasure to have guests. He heard that Hanro wanted to play Go with him, and Hanro says it's the only game he really knows how to play. Then Moon and Johan respond. Let's give it a try. He warns that he will play with the white stones and that Hanro will start. Saying Hanro will start, he awkwardly picks up the pieces. Seeing this, Moon and Johan think they shouldn't expect much from Hanro. The guy just seems like he came looking for a free meal. So, he is willing to help only after the game. Then Johan makes his first move. In light of this, Johan is surprised and realizes that Moon is not just any beggar. Thus, they start to play. Johan thinks that Moon is quick in her moves. It is rare to see someone his age with so much experience. They play a few more rounds. We see that Moon and Johan's faces begin to look grim. He cannot make his move. He thinks, what the hell? Johan is not just in a hurry but has a smug smile. Mo asks, hey, aren't you going to play? And that's it. If you liked it, hit that like button, subscribe, and activate the bell before it turns into the intranel of W Sumo in the inventory. Thanks for watching. We're together, and I'm out. If you have more, it's pulling me for another. This came straight from the board, likely to complicate everyone's life, including our protagonist, who just wanted to sleep. That little old man with a stylish mustache is having a breakdown. Why? Because apparently, playing a board game against a guy who looks like he hasn't showered in 3 months is the most traumatic experience of his life. He describes the kid as a raging storm and a demon of war. The shock is so great that the noble gentleman sees monsters and giant waves where there are only wood and stone. In the end, the little old man is so impressed with the boy's talent that he decides to invite him to live in his house, completely ignoring the fact that the young man admits he was trained by a slippery old man, that his style is basically that of a crazy dog, with the charisma of a door and pockets emptier than a trainee's stomach. He confesses he doesn't have a dime. The homeowner, who must be very desperate for gaming partners, laughs like someone with money to spare and says that the lodging is on the house. The payment will be just a few games now and then. The boy is sent straight to the bath where he finally relaxes and even cries, remembering how his master was a taskmaster who wouldn't let him wash properly. The homeowner's daughter, Enyunji, decides to enter the bathroom right then to deliver new clothes. The result? A scream that was probably heard in the neighboring kingdom, as she stumbles upon what she shouldn't have seen. And what she saw left the girl in total shock, and it wasn't due to a lack of hygiene. Enyunji almost has a breakdown, thinking she saw a ghost. But in reality, it was just our protagonist flaunting a physique that defies the laws of biology. The guy has so many abs that it looks like he swallowed an entire carton of eggs. She stands there, all red and confused. Cut to a few days later, and reality hits. The so-called war demon has turned into the king of laziness. A girl named Gi goes to complain to her father, outraged. The new guest does absolutely nothing, except eat and sleep all day. The guy has become a luxury burden. The girl is one step away from kicking him out. Meanwhile, her father is more concerned with the fact that he doesn't even know the guy's name yet. But the old man has a deep theory to excuse all this laziness. Yanji's father decides to give a pub philosophy lesson about the game of golf. He explains that the board is like an X-ray of the soul. Those who are hasty don't play slowly, and those who are slow can't handle the pressure. According to his logic, since the kid plays with the speed of someone wanting to destroy the universe, his life must have been a true hell on earth until now. The question remains how long this homeowner's patience will last. The golf match is heating up, or at least that's what this man in a fancy hat thinks. He is there staring at the board as if he is witnessing the end of the world in each little stone. The guy lets out a hum filled with uncertainty. He is sweating more than a lunchbox lid. He cannot process what just happened. In his mind, the move our protagonist made makes no sense at all. What kind of move was that? He wonders in shock. For him, it is basically a strategic suicide. But then comes that realization. He remembers he is not playing against just anyone. He is facing the legendary and undefeated. Just look at the pose of our genius from Ranlin. With that dragon aura and a gaze that seems to know the meaning of life, he looks 10 steps ahead. The poor opponent falls right into his own paranoia. He thinks he must have some plan in mind. It's definitely a trap. The fear is so great that the old man decides to retreat, thinking he is being really smart by avoiding the trap. He even smiles, relieved, believing he has escaped a deadly snare. But folks, look at our genius's face. He is trembling, yes, but it is out of pure rage. He is exploding inside. Why did you back off just there? The guy is outraged because his plan was precisely the opposite of what the other thought. You are not understanding the level of drama. Our genius only wanted one thing, to lose. But fate is cruel, my friends. The opponent, thinking he was defeated by a superior mind, gives a respectful bow and says, I lost. Our protagonist completely collapses. He cries tears of pure resentment while making a sign of respect. After this disastrous victory, he drags himself away, more worn out than a Monday morning. The guy is there complaining about life. He says he tried suicidal moves just to get off the board, but instead he only scares his opponents. He is at a stress level where he'd rather do laundry than win another match. Oh my back, he grumbles, looking like an 80-year-old man. But the peace lasts little. Suddenly, a scream cuts through the air. I said I don't want to. He takes a quick peek, eager for gossip, and comes face to face with a guy who looks like he walked out of a questionable jewelry commercial. It's the knock-knock guy. He is pressuring a girl with that classic villain question. Do you really not want to marry me? The forced vibe is heavy. Her response is going to be a bucket of cold water. Our dear character's answer is short and blunt. No, absolutely not. She doesn't care about the guy's ego size, but Knock Knock won't accept a no for an answer. He starts with the whole "you're going to regret this" talk, but she retorts immediately, I won't. The guy thinks the world revolves around him. He claims he always gets what he wants and never lets anything slip away. He even threatens the Relin Institute, asking if she really wants to see the place fall because of her. But she is fierce. She tells him do whatever you want and ensures that the Great Relin Institute won't fall so easily. However, the villain has that little smile of someone with a dirty trick up his sleeve. Knock Knock continues with an arrogance that is disgusting. He says he can indeed make the institute fall, and she knows it. The poor girl is visibly shaken, grinding her teeth in anger. I hate this about you, she shouts, questioning if he really thinks everything will work in his favor. The guy, with the audacity of a saint, replies that it's not impossible. She tries to put an end to it, saying she will never marry him. So, it is impossible indeed. She turns her back to leave, but what does the cocky guy do? He grabs her wrist tightly. Now the limit has been crossed. A real sense of danger sets in. She screams for him to let go, but the guy is at a bizarre level of psychopathy. He gets close, with a sinister look, and says it's better for her not to irritate him. People, look at the level of disgust. The guy sticks his tongue out while asking if she will still be so bold if he decides to take her right there. It's now stomach-churning. But before the worst happens, a voice suddenly emerges, breaking the entire soap opera villain vibe. That's not something you should say in someone else's house. Our genius finally stops watching the gossip and joins the fight. Our hero appears with that expression of someone who just woke up from a 12-hour nap. The girl is in shock, and the villain lets out a "you" filled with hatred. But the genius doesn't care about the tension. He looks at her and asks, in the most natural way, "Have you finished washing the clothes and getting firewood?" She looks confused, saying she was just playing soccer until now. He simply takes the girl's hair tie. He is about to upgrade his look to put the villain in his place. With the calmest demeanor in the world, our genius ties his hair while Noke Makange tries to give a lesson in manners. He asks if he doesn't think it's rude to eavesdrop on others' conversations. The response, "Sorry, I don't know my manners very well." It's pure mockery. He adds that Noke is not the best person to talk about etiquette. "People who care about good manners usually act like you," he asks, throwing the guy's behavior in the trash. That's when the villain realizes what's going on. You must be Rallin's genius. The recognition comes, but the respect is nowhere to be found. The genius replies, "Thanks for recognizing me, but I have no idea who you are." Knock Knock Poom tries to introduce himself all pompous, but is cut off right away. "Oh, that's fine. I really don't care." "People," the guy wiped the floor with the villain's ego. Knock's face distorts in hatred, adjusting his teeth. The genius straight up tells him that he should have kept playing soccer instead of getting in his way. And, with a toothpaste commercial smile, he concludes, "Too bad. I'm really good at getting in people's way, just like now." The villain can only snarl, "You piece of shit," as he trembles with anger, but before things get out of hand, a crowd of annoying fans shows up to ruin the villain's moment. Suddenly, a group appears shouting, "Who is that?" Wanting to play soccer with the genius. Nok Mok Pung realizes he has lost the spotlight and decides to retreat, but not before delivering that villainous threat that refuses to accept defeat. "Don't forget, if you don't come running into my arms in 3 days, I will do things my way." He walks away, all offended. Meanwhile, our protagonist stands there with a face of indifference, watching the guy leave. Now that the dust has settled, it's time to find out who this crazy person is and why he is so dangerous. The genius asks who the figure was, and the girl explains that his name is Nok Mok Pung. He is the adopted son of a palace attendant who has a lot of influence. In other words, the guy has powerful connections. When asked what he wanted, she said he wants to marry her, and that she has already said no 1,000 times. But the guy is an annoying gum that won't go away. Our protagonist, being the fool he is, exclaims he's not nice, good family, determined. Her reaction is immediate. "Do you want to die?" She explains that he doesn't want to marry for love. He wants to use her. The issue runs much deeper and involves heavy politics and her father. She starts explaining that her father has an absurd network of contacts in Rulin. Many people think he would be the perfect politician. The genius, always focused on what matters, guesses, "Must be because of the soccer, right?" She firmly responds with a loud no. The real problem is that the eunuchs of the imperial palace are terrified of her father. The genius looks confused. "The eunuchs, but your father is just the owner of this institute. Why would they be afraid of him?" She explains that Ralin is not just any institute. They are not affiliated with anyone. This has allowed them to create deep connections with various other organizations. Basically, her father is a key player who could destabilize the entire power of the empire. The girl explains that the eunuchs only remain in power, even being useless and corrupt, because the forces of Rulin have not united to expel them. But if her father controlled those forces, the eunuchs would be doomed. The genius finally understands. So the eunuchs would be in danger. Exactly. Their genius plan now is forced marriage, to create a bond and neutralize the threat. Meanwhile, we see Knock Knock apologizing to his father. He said the plan got complicated because someone named Genie of Ralin showed up. Now let's meet the true boss behind all this nonsense. Meet Nok Gui, the leader of the eunuchs. And look, the guy is not weak at all. He is pure muscle and has an intimidating presence. He mocks our hero, the Genie of Ralin, that useless guy who just plays golf all day. But the son explains that the problem isn't the genie itself, but the fact that people from across the country are coming to play against him. There are too many eyes watching the place. Now any suspicious movement could go wrong. Nok Gui understands his son's hesitation and accepts the apology. But the feeling that something bad will happen only increases. The villain may be understanding, but he has a mission he cannot fail. Nakui makes it clear that this mission is not just to take the Imperial Palace. It is an order from someone above. The only job is not an option, not for him and not for the son. He says with a chilling look that he fears disappointing this leader more than death itself. He asks if his son understands the gravity of the situation, and Knock, sweating and screaming in terror, confirms that he is well aware. When a villain is more afraid of his boss than of death, you know he will do anything to get what he wants. And while the bloody plan is plotted in the shadows, where is our hero on the board? Of course, taking a nap while someone tries to wake him up. Hey Mr. Wee, open your eyes. The genius is sleeping on the edge of the abyss while desperately trying to lose a golf match. The figure in purple is none other than Lei Wang, the head of El Zadai. And hold on to that, the Emperor's younger brother. He drops that question from someone who is already impatient. So you still have no intention of taking an official position? It's that invitation that feels like an order, you know. But Iwan, who is no fool, just sends his apologies, keeping the pose of someone who prefers the peace of his golf table. But Lei Wang is not playing around and gets real. The central government is a mess. The son and one would have the necessary weight to maintain balance. Preventing someone named Nokagi from taking power seems like the plot of a soap opera, right? But Lei Wang drops a bomb. What if the master he serves is someone completely different? The atmosphere became heavier than a Monday morning. With this nagging doubt about who is truly in control of the story, everything takes a darker turn. Now brace yourself for this horror movie-worthy flashback. Lei Wang begins to explain that the infighting among the eunuchs is weirder than we imagine. Nokagi appeared out of nowhere, without any support, and swept everyone aside to get where he is now. And check out the level of coincidence. Those who opposed him died in accidents or from sudden illnesses. Sure. It seems like destiny was clearing the path for him, doesn't it? Liu Wang is convinced that there is someone very powerful behind this guy. That's why he desperately needs Yuhan and the scholars to confront this threat. Yuhan, in that "I'll think about it and get back to you" style, says he's going to consider it, but soon he changes the subject to mention a so-called extraordinary talent he found. He describes this person as someone trying to hide from the world. Lei Wang, never one to miss an opportunity, becomes very curious. When can I meet this prodigy? Little does he know that the prodigy is probably more concerned with his nap than with the fate of the empire. Speaking of our mysterious genius, look who decided to show up in that peculiar way. Finally, our Santo de Gaulle appears. But forget about that grand entrance with rose petals. The guy arrives all wet, with hair looking like a bird's nest, and a face like someone who was dragged out of bed. Wan's son brings the young man. Liu Wang, trying to maintain humility or pretending very well, introduces himself simply as an old man passing by. An old man who just happens to be the Emperor's brother. Super common. Our protagonist, with that "I want to go back to sleep" energy, asks what an old man would want to resolve with him. The answer? I just want to play a game of golf. The problem is that our hero has a lot of principles and straightforwardly says it's not going to happen. Why? Because there is already a line of people waiting to play on the phone, and he doesn't cut in line, not even under a royal decree. Imagine Liu Wang's face hearing a no from a guy who looks like he hasn't showered in 3 days. Did you think the Emperor's brother would just accept a no easily? Trust me, the tension is just beginning. Our protagonist couldn't care less about hierarchy. He makes it clear, I'm not saying I won't play, I'm just saying you have to follow the line order. Liu Wang, trying to be the cool uncle, chuckles and says he can resolve this by asking for the understanding of those who are waiting. Yu Wang just stands by, observing the drama. He is probably thinking, where did I get myself into? In the meantime, his son decides to intervene to avoid embarrassing his father in front of the important person. When diplomacy fails, what remains? An offer that our lazy protagonist won't be able to refuse. Johan's son knows the game well and throws out the perfect bait. If you play this match now, I'll cancel all the other games of golf today. Guys, look at our protagonist's face. His eyes even sparkle with the possibility of doing nothing for the rest of the day. He still tries to keep his cool, saying he has duties, but when he hears he can rest today, he accepts right away. No more negotiations. Decide now, says the woman, and he of course immediately sits at the board. Liu Wang has that look of "this kid is all talk," thinking the guy is a lazy charlatan. Liu Wang even considers leaving, but since it's started, he decides to see what the kid is all about. And then, my friends, the first piece is placed on the board with that satisfying click. The game has begun. Liu Wang is about to discover that appearances deceive more than an Instagram filter. The game started slowly, but what Liu Wang is going to feel on that board will completely change his view of the lazy guy. The match is over. Liu Wang is there, processing what happened, and one asks him if he enjoyed it. The old man enters a reflective trance. He describes the protagonist's playing style as fierce, a Type 1 aggression level you wouldn't see even on a real battlefield, let alone on a wooden board. Liu Wang wonders what kind of life this boy led to play like that. But there is one detail. Liu Wang thinks this doesn't match the lazy appearance of the boy, and lets out a "it was a waste of time." He can't understand why Yuan values the kid so much. But Yuan, with that look of someone who knows everything, says he saw something Liu Wang missed during the game. Johan made what he considered a divine move. Something perfect. He thought the game was over and took his eyes off the board for a second. Prepare your hearts. Johan describes what he saw, a look of selflessness. You know when someone is so immersed in what they're doing that it seems like they've merged with the universe? Luang remains skeptical, asking if his friend saw wrong. But Johan is convinced. Even so, the atmosphere between the two ends up being somewhat bitter. Johan says he has no intention of using the boy and that it was a waste of time. But he quickly corrects himself, saying that seeing Anne in that state was worth it. They decide to end the night because according to Luang, the atmosphere is not good. And you know his old instinct is sharp, because the mood is really heavy. They say goodbye with that "what a pity" hanging in the air as night falls over the estate. They felt the atmosphere was bad, but they had no idea how bad it would become, kicking down the door with a thirst for blood. The night was beautiful. Full moon, starry sky, the perfect setting for a massacre. Out of nowhere, a masked guy appears along with a brute covered in jewels. Look at the villain's style. He gives the order, subjugate them all quickly, and then chaos erupts. The assassins spring from the shadows like bean sprouts, all armed and with blood in their eyes. There's a poor guard who was there yawning, relaxed, thinking it would be just another calm night of watching. There's blood everywhere. People, the attack is coordinated, quick, and merciless. These guys didn't come to talk, they came to clear the map. The peace of the estate was shattered in seconds, with the assassins invading everything. Will anyone manage to escape this carnage? The massacre continues, and it's a horror show. Screams from the thieves, and the big villain with rings shouts the classic line of an arrogant villain, "You should have listened to me earlier." Meanwhile, our heroine Among Yin is there, just processing the disaster and thinking, of all days, why today? Yeah folks, the law of Morphe spares no one, not even in the world of Manhazes. But if you think his plan was just to capture everyone, prepare yourselves. This guy's ego is bigger than his stock of jewels. The scene cuts to the prisoners. Everyone is tied up and on their knees. Meanwhile, one of the leaders, a mustached gentleman who seems very important, tries to understand what's happening. He shouts, "What does this mean?" Knock, with all the calm of someone who knows he has the upper hand, explains that he received information about suspicious activities at the Raleigh property. According to him, influential people from all over the country have been visiting the place for a long time. The mustache man, indignant, retorts, "What's suspicious about that?" But the villain already has the answer ready. He asks, why the hell would so many powerful and authoritative people gather in one place if it wasn't to plot something? This is where he drops the bomb that will change the tone of the conversation from misunderstanding to death sentence. It's betrayal. Short and blunt, Knock delivers that word. The atmosphere, which was already heavy, turns into a block of lead. Betrayal. We only gathered to play golf. Yes, you heard right, the board game. The prisoner insists and says that the rumors about Alam's golf master are real. But the villain cuts him off immediately, saying that rumors can be made up at any moment. One of the masked guards approaches Knock and asks what everyone wants to know. Where is that guy, the golf master? And the answer is a bucket of cold water. There was no one else on the property. Knock stands there pondering whether the guy escaped or left before the party started. He even says lucky guy, because he knows that if he had caught the master, the damage would have been greater. Then he plays that psychological game, telling the prisoners that if they are innocent, they will be released after the investigation. Trust that. But the act doesn't last long because a guard comes running in with a book in hand shouting, "We found it." And what is it? A collective oath from those who planned the betrayal. It's the tangible proof, the famous lipstick on the underwear, which was obviously planted there by themselves. The prisoner's reaction upon seeing this magical evidence appear is pure desperation. A collective oath. This is the first time we've heard of this. The mustache man is almost having a fit. He realizes right away that the house has fallen. Knock knock Pung, with that little smile of someone who just won the lottery, rubs the book in his face. It is at that moment that the reality hits our mustached friend. From the beginning they came here with that in mind. I was deceived. The guy is feeling the weight of defeat. Meanwhile, the other prisoners in the background start shouting that they are innocent. Knock knock, you are doing something interesting. Everyone looks back and sees an old man with white hair. He is also tied up, but he has the posture of someone who is in charge of everything. Knock even feels cold for a second, and the crowd begins to celebrate. It's His Royal Highness, the Prince. The guy is none other than Prince Li Wang, the Emperor's brother. He arrives flaunting his authority, commanding Knock to call him the General Censor. The prisoners are in ecstasy, thinking the tables have turned. We are saved. The prince has seen everything. He knows we are innocent. Little do they know that for a villain of this caliber, a tied-up prince is just another trophy on the shelf. Knock knock Pung will have to choose between apologizing or doubling down on villainy, and we know well what he will choose. Knock starts with master-level cynicism. Joining his hands, he says that if he had known His Eminence was there, he wouldn't have acted so brutally. The prince, thinking he still has some authority, orders him to untie everyone right away. But then the atmosphere chills. Knock makes that face of someone about to spill heavy gossip and asks, "Before that, why did you plan a betrayal?" Guys, the silence that followed must have been loud enough to hear in the next chapter. The prince is in shock, and Knock delivers the checkmate. Did you really think I didn't know you would be here? The villain opens a twisted smile, showing all his teeth, while the guards force the prince to kneel. The savior just became the head of the rebellion. The prince is furious. He screams that Nock's arrogance reaches the heavens and that he won't get away with this. But Nock, with that bored look of someone who has already won, states the truth. You won't be able to tell anything to the emperor because you will never see him again. He decrees that betrayal means immediate execution and that everyone there will die. The prince curses the guy. He says that heaven will not forgive him. But Nock only cares about one thing. Seeing the desperation goes on. Beg. That's what he says, enjoying every second of the humiliation. Knock Knock Pung walks up to her and warns her that among everyone there is one person who needs to die first, her. He gets very close with that villain's breath, and he remembers that he warned her he would handle things his way. This is the result of you rejecting me, he says while lifting her chin with his ringed fingers. She simply spits right in his face. That's right, she gave an epic spit on the villain and even shouted, I would rather die here than marry a scumbag like you. What a woman, my friends. The villain who looks more like a bad dream with his tongue hanging out. Seriously, can someone give this guy a tissue? He decided that physical torture is not enough. He looks her right in the face and delivers that villain line that loves drama. Don't worry, I won't kill you. But hold on, it's not kindness. His plan is much worse. He wants her to wish for death, asking her to imagine the worst-case scenario possible. Just so you know, End, who is not one to back down, still tries to keep her tough pose. She says she prefers to die than be humiliated by a worm like him. But the fat guy has an ace up his sleeve. If she takes her own life, her father will pay the price. And look at the state of the old man, tied up with a blade at his neck. It's the complete combo of despair. He gets right to the point. If her father also decides to play the hero and kills himself, the suffering continues. He points to a crowd all tied up and warns that those there are just the beginning. He even laughs in her face, challenging the poor thing to try to die, because then the weight of the guilt for everyone who will suffer in her place will be the real hell. He even pulls En's hair with a force that makes it nerve-wracking to watch, while her father screams desperately in the background. The guy is having fun, people. He said he wants to have more things to enjoy than just ending her all at once. With En completely trapped, the villain is about to start the show. She can only close her eyes and pray for a miracle, and miracles tend to have very bizarre entrances. Alright, let's get started. She begins to quietly plead, please, someone help me. And who is it that shows up to ruin the villain's party? The spoiler didn't come on a white horse, it stumbled onto the roof instead, and look who showed up. Ianho. He ends up tripping and falling so loudly that the villain below stops everything and shouts his name, Ianho. The catch was so big that Ianho crouches there, with that face of I got caught in the act. He lets out a nervous little laugh, like the one you give when your mom catches you sneaking a candy in the middle of the night. Ha 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 ha, seriously. And I think, oh no, is this your best defense? The guy is sweatier than a lunchbox lid. He tries to process how he ended up in the spotlight, when his plan was clearly to vanish. Where, in his Chibe version of indignation, he asks what the hell he is doing. And Wano, with the biggest nerve in the world, responds by shouting, can't you see? I'm running away. In a high-level philosophical debate, he questions, why can't I say I'm running away, when I really am running away? He even waves goodbye, telling everyone to go back to what they were doing. Is he a genius or a coward? The question lingers. Yande's father and the other old man are in shock, thinking, I've never seen trash like this. Ianho's ego must be on the floor, but he doesn't even care. However, the villain has lost his patience completely. He shouted a stop that must have shaken the ground. He warns that running away is no longer an option because Iowano is already involved in betrayal, and the whole world is going to hunt him down. And Iowano, with that sarcasm we love, just responds, well, we won't know until I try, right? The guy is too slick. But the villain doesn't want to hear any jokes and orders his men to grab him by any means. The order has been given and the assassins are already moving. Will Ain and I be able to keep this sarcasm while blades are flying everywhere? A masked assassin jumps in with everything, drawing his sword in a swift motion. And here's an interesting thing. Oh yes, where he was begging for help 2 seconds ago, he now sees the danger and shouts for Ian to run. Ian stops for a moment, looks at her with that look of someone pondering life and gives a sly smile. He thinks, a moment ago she was asking for help and now she's telling me to run. What should I do? It's that classic dilemma. The instinct for survival kicks in. The masked one thinks he's got it all under control, but Ian moves like lightning. In 1 second he is there. In the next, boom, he throws a punch charged with bizarre blue energy. This makes the assassin fly far away. Ion doesn't even have to exert himself much. He just comments to himself, honestly, what a strange woman. He's talking about Yoon, of course. She's there with wide eyes, not believing what she just saw. My friends, the trash just showed it has a Ferrari engine under that beetle hood. With this masterstroke, the game has completely turned. Now the one who's afraid is no longer Yoon. Look at this pose, ladies and gentlemen. Ion stands at the top of the roof, with the full moon in the background, looking like the true protagonist of a martial arts epic. Down below, the assassin is sprawled on the ground, probably reconsidering all his life choices while trying to remember how to breathe. The girl in the red ribbon is in shock. The bound disciples behind her look like they're thinking, who is this lunatic, and how do I get out of here? Then enters the big boss of the situation, a gigantic guy decked out in gold chains, with a scar that screams, I am the villain. He is sweating profusely, letting out a disbelieving what? He tries to keep his composure and says, so you had some skill after all. And what does our hero do? He scratches his head, gives a toothpaste commercial smile, and says, hee hee, thanks for the compliment. The villain is frothing with rage. When a villain this size gets angry, things usually get ugly, or at least he tries to. The atmosphere becomes tense. The family member, the jewelry guy, can't stand being made a fool any longer and calls his subordinate Rekill. Rekill, all submissive, apologizes and promises to resolve the problem right away. But look at the level of evil from the boss. He warns not to kill the girl. Rekill even finds it strange, but the jewelry guy adds, with that horror movie vibe, I will tear her apart with my own hands. It's that moment when we think, now things are about to get real. But hold on, our protagonist has a very specific request before the fight resumes. You won't believe the audacity of this guy. The masked man stops, confused, and asks, what was that? Our hero, with the biggest cheek in the world, says he needs to use his sword and asks if the enemy can wait a little while he goes to get it from the room. He even points to the building. But the protagonist doesn't take it lightly. He starts a generational sermon. He says that Hector already looks quite old. He thinks it is absurd for an older guy to create problems just because a young person wants to seek a weapon. He begins to philosophize about how the world has become hard and cruel in the last 5 years, while looking at a broom. Yes, he is ignoring the killer to complain about life with a broom in his hand. Hector is done with this talk and charges forward. He asks what he thinks he is doing. The king listens, a volcano erupting. The fiery aura rises and he attacks with everything. He screams that his body will he doesn't even finish the sentence out of rage. He descends the blue sword with all the force of hatred. Take that. The protagonist not only blocked it, he used the broom to give an epic lesson to the masked man. The impact is so strong that the guy's mask flies off. He spins in the air like an uncontrolled helicopter rotor. The king falls to the ground, completely knocked out, thinking, what is this? He cannot understand how he was defeated by a household item. The guy is there, stretched out, with his soul leaving his body. And the audience's reaction. The jewelry guy looks like he saw a ghost. The other leaders have their eyes almost popping out and their mouths open. That's right, a broom for sweeping yards. And he even delivers the cleanest catchphrase in history. As expected, trash is best cleaned with a broom. Guys, look at the villain's face. The so-called real kill is having a fit, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. He is there in total shock, wondering what kind of evil entity uses cleaning supplies to fight. It's that moment when you realize your power level is so low that the guy doesn't even consider you an enemy. He just sees you as debris that needs to be swept under the rug. Real Kill, who refuses to be humiliated by a cleaner, charges at him, screaming, you bastard. And what does our protagonist do? He starts raining broom hits on the crazy guy. It's talk, talk, talk all around. And the best part is his complaint. I was here explaining things to you gently and you attack me. That's quite audacious, isn't it? The villain is there trying to defend himself, but his brain has already short-circuited. He can only think too fast, too fast. Well, buddy, getting beaten by a broom at supersonic speed shouldn't be in any Shadow Warriors manual. In the end, Real Kill comes to terms with reality. He admits the obvious. The boy is not just a big talker. He is the bogeyman of household chores. Real Kill decides that if he can't win with punches or broom swings, he'll win by cheating. He draws a dagger shining in radioactive green, the famous 7-step soul-hunting snake. He delivers that villainous philosophy. In real combat, the strongest does not always win. Our protagonist, Eon, looks at that with a serious expression. Really, man, how ugly. He even asks if the poison isn't a bit dirty. The villain doesn't care. He tells him to blame whoever he wants. But today the hero falls. Then comes the plot twist. Eon says the poison won't work on him. Hector freezes. Are you immune to all poisons? Eon's answer is the best. No, I didn't eat ginseng root or anything. Poison works on me, yes. It's just, well, he doesn't finish the sentence because the best answer isn't spoken. It's felt right in the face. You know that moment when the villain is explaining the evil plan and you just want the hero to hit him? Eon took that advice literally. While Real Kill is still processing the answer about the poison, our protagonist turns into a blue blur. He advances with the broom, his movement so fluid it looks like he's surfing the air. Real Kill goes into total panic, wide-eyed, sweating cold, desperately thinking, I need to block this. And that's when Yoan delivers the ultimate mockery, almost pressing his face against the villain's. Don't tell me you actually thought something like I need to block this. If a block was the villain's only hope, grab the tissues because what's coming next is a beating to create nightmares. Forget the choreographed movie fights. Here it's all about broom therapy. Eon unleashes a series of blows that makes Rokio look like a ping pong ball. The onlookers watching have that look of, man, I did not see that. I saw Real Kill collapse to the ground, completely knocked out. He is surrounded by a cloud of dust. Meanwhile, Zhuao strikes a victory pose, holding the broom as if he just cleaned the party hall. It's certainly the most humiliating defeat of this villain's career, but as in every good bad story, when you defeat the sub-boss, the true final boss comes to chat with the king. Q, lying on the ground, watches as Yan drops another pearl from his master. If the enemy seems to be preparing something grand, don't expect just a knockout. A huge guy appears, full of jewels and chains. He looks like someone who eats 3 protagonists for breakfast. He is the boss of the dark force that the girl's father took decades to build. The atmosphere becomes heavy. Yan, not losing his composure, suggests it would be better for everyone if the big guy retreated now. The villain stands there fiddling with his gold rings. He examines the boy with a look that sends chills down the spine. Do you think the big guy is going to get angry? Not at all. He is going to do something much worse. He is going to be nice. The villain opens a bizarre smile and says, "Excellent." He starts praising Eon's martial prowess. He says it's incredible to see someone so young with so much talent. And our protagonist, he simply melts. Yundi, who is standing next to him, nearly has an aneurysm from so much rage. She screams, "Why are you happy about this?" It's hilarious to see that the weak point of the guy who defeats villains with a broom is a simple compliment from a creepy old man. The villain realizes the boy is a bit special in the head, and his smile only grows wider. Now comes the proposal that could change everything. Does our hero have a price? The big guy decides to play the seduction game. He says that finding a martial artist with honor and sense like Ewan makes everything worthwhile. Then comes the million-dollar question. Don't you want to work for me? He promises things the boy can't even imagine. Power to have the world in his hands and immense wealth. The scene becomes dramatic, with flames in the background. The villain extends his hand like the devil himself, offering a contract. Hindi stands back, sweating cold, thinking about what this guy is plotting. Iwan remains silent, with that deep look, processing the offer of having all the money in the world. Hindi is ready to give a sermon on morality and ethics. However, Iwan has a very different priority. She is waiting for that heroic speech of, "I would never align with evil." But Iwan, with the cleanest face in the world, and a smile of someone who just won the lottery, drops the bomb. "But I will fall in, so let's talk numbers." Folks, Ndi's expression is priceless. She collapses completely, her soul almost leaving her body, and she can only scream, "Why? Oh, die." Anyone with common sense and morals would never fall for this nonsense, right? For a moment, we even believe he will give a morality sermon. The girl back there even breathes in relief. But then comes the cold shower, or rather reality. "But I fall easily, man." He didn't even feel ashamed. The guy simply throws ethics in the trash and says, "So, how about you give me the exact values?" The elder, who looks like a high-ranking official, goes into thermal shock. He screams at the top of his lungs, "What the hell are you doing? Is power and wealth that important?" The answer comes in chorus, with perfect comedic timing. "They are," say the villain and our warrior, without even blinking. It's the kind of synchronization we only see in a country duo. The elder, seeing that morality isn't paying the bills, goes into panic mode. He tries to cover the offer. "I'll give you everything, I swear. My support comes from the imperial family." But the big villain, with that smile of someone who knows he has a card up his sleeve, throws the old man's ego in the trash. He lays it out. The emperor's brother may have the title, but he has already given up everything. He would only get a measly position in the inspectorate. With an auction heating up, our warrior starts doing the basic math in his head. It seems the dark side is winning by a landslide. Look at our protagonist's face, people. Meanwhile, the other officer, the one in blue with a villainous cartoon mustache, tries to appeal to the emotional side. He starts with that talk. "Your master didn't teach you about proper conduct? How can you help a traitor?" The warrior pauses, creates that dramatic suspense, and repeats, "My master?" And the officer falls right into the trap, thinking the wise old man's advice would be something like, "Help those in need." But trust me, his master was from a different school. The golden advice he received for situations like this is, stick with whoever pays more. Is it easy? The guy turned martial training into a high-stakes investment course. The look of shock on the officers' and elders' faces at the end is priceless. Now that the philosophy of whoever pays more wins has been established, the villain is going to present the benefits package. Definitive. And look, it's tempting. Did you think he would stop at greed? Not at all. His master was a coach of chaos. The warrior keeps quoting the Bible of his mentor. Morality and virtue only give you an empty name. They don't feed you. It's the pure juice of pragmatism, right? Don't bother living righteously. Take as much as you can while you can. The officer in blue is almost having a stroke from so much sorrow. He asks what kind of master would say that, but the big villain is loving it. He immediately closes the deal. Tokens. He doesn't care. Exactly. My father values those who help him. And then they go to work for him. Here comes the pinnacle of human laziness. Our hero makes a face like he just woke up and asks, "Work? Do I have to work?" And the villain, who is no fool, makes the irresistible offer. "We won't make you work at all. First-class meals, rest, and a lifetime guarantee." It's everyone's dream who is watching this video right now. Tell the truth, the contract is signed, the benefits are great, But you know that in the world of manuals, a lifetime guarantee usually comes with a bloody clause in the footer. The order is short and blunt. First, kill everyone you see in front of you. The shock is so great that even our hero, who was all funny, lets out a what? Yes. The villain's not working means that mass murder is considered just a welcoming hobby. The villain tries to justify the carnage with that talk of they are rebels. Destroying them is just fair payment. The officer in blue, who we find out is the girl's father, is in shock. He screams that it's all a lie, that the villain made up the betrayal, and that our warrior can't be so stupid to believe it. The villain draws his sword. The glint of the blade is chilling. The target is none other than the girl's father. This is when the son cries and the mother does not see. The little girl goes into full despair, screaming for her father. It's that moment when our hearts tighten. The officer closes his eyes and asks his daughter for forgiveness, accepting his fate. The blade descends for the final blow. But wait, someone stop. The sword is in the air, a calm that's almost nerve-wracking. A voice emerges from the shadows. This has gone on long enough. Don't you think crazy? What an entrance. The chapter ends with this epic block. He throws out Romulion's question. Do you know what is essential to live a lazy life? And before the villain answers, he finishes it himself. Never create problems that keep bothering you. In other words, he is going to solve this mess right now, just to be able to go back to doing nothing in peace. Our hero begins to tell a story from when he was a kid. He broke a paint rock that his father loved, and his father was not the type to give timeouts, no. The old man was out for 3 days. The boy spent that whole time suffering in anticipation. He said the wait was torture. When his father finally returned, he gave him a beating that almost sent him to Vasco. But look at the madness. He says that after the beating, he could finally rest in peace. Cut to now. The old master and the girl are there, watching this free therapy session. They look like they are saying, this boy is not normal. The villain, whose name we discover is Nok Mok Pong, thinks it's all nonsense. But our hero closes his eyes, calm, and remembers what the master taught. Never forget a grudge, but never forget kindness. Moreover, the conversation here is deep, guys. Those who do not return what they receive will one day have to pay with interest. Our protagonist, looking with those eyes that seem to read the soul, decides that now is the time to repay the kindness he received. He is protecting the people behind him, not out of obligation, but out of gratitude. Knock Knock, who is no fool, finally understands the message. Ah, so behind those pretty words you mean you are going to stop me. And here comes the classic villain laugh from an anime. Knock Knock opens that big mouth of his that looks like it will swallow the camera. He asks if the hero thought he tried to bribe him out of fear. He thought wrong, fool. That's basically what he means. Our hero, with the patience of a Buddhist monk, simply replies, actually, that didn't seem like it. He raises his hand full of gold rings. The guy shows off even when he is about to fight and starts channeling sinister energy. He said that if he wants to kill our hero, it's nothing. It's the famous, I'm going to show you who is in charge here. Notice the special effects, because what comes next is the blow that should end the fight once and for all. Dude, look at the size of that energy hand. Nokimok Punk is not playing around. He invokes a technique that looks like a bunch of ghostly hands forming a giant fist. Meanwhile, in the background, the old master is left speechless. So Nokimok Punk has trained in martial arts too. Yes, Grandpa. The chubby guy with the jewels is a real threat. The light shines so bright that it seems the sun decided to show up at midnight just to witness the havoc. The strike comes down hard. But will our hero turn into a pancake, or does he have a trick up his sleeve? Nokimok Punk is laughing, thinking he has already won the match. He even tries to give some last-minute advice. In your next life, drop that laziness and live diligently. It's the height of irony. The guy is trying to preach morality while attempting murder. Dust rises, the ground shakes. It seems our protagonist is being swept away. But if you know these cliches well, you know that when the villain starts giving advice, it's because he has already lost. I've seen this somewhere before. This line from our hero is pure desperation for the villain. But look at the sequence of movements. The guy is moving so fast he creates after images. He is literally dancing between the attacks as if he is on a stroll in the park. The hunter has become the hunted. The hero is already positioned for checkmate. The hero appears right behind the villain, whispering in his ear, it's over. Nokimok Punk is sweating bullets, trembling more than a green twig. He tries to stammer a how, but our protagonist has no patience for repetitive questions. You saw everything, why still ask? It's the end of the line for Ostentasum. The hero prepares, charging energy in his leg. Our hero gives the final warning. I'm only going to hit you once. And what a hit, my friends. He unleashes a kick loaded with blue electricity. This sends Nokimok Punk flying straight into the video credits. It's the definition of a single punch, or rather, a single kick. The lazy one showed that when he decides to work, he does the complete job to avoid repeats. And YY is not a man to go back on his word, huh? He said it would only be one hit. And my friends, what a hit. Now comes the question that cannot be overlooked. Did he die? And look at the audacity of YN. He says, no, I just gave a light hit. And his body is full of fat. So, he's fine, I guess. Knock Knock Pung is on the ground, looking like a rug. but he still has breath to scream one, wait, is this guy persistent or just not accepting humiliation yet? And when you think the villain will give up, he comes up with the most shameless proposal in martial arts history. Look at this Nokamok Pung's sweaty face. The guy has the nerve to suggest, why don't we pretend none of this happened? Are you serious, dude? You try to control everything and now you want to reset the friendship? But the Inspector General, that old man with the white beard who wasn't born yesterday, cuts the fun short. This is unacceptable. Arrest him now. But the villain plays his last card, family blackmail. He warns that if he doesn't come back, his father will think the plan failed and will create a final doorway. Basically, he's saying that if they arrest him, my father will blow up the whole kingdom. It's the famous "do you know who you're talking to" Imperial Dynasty version. The atmosphere thickened. Now the Inspector General has to choose between justice and avoiding a bloodbath. The old man calls him a wicked man, and rightly so. The guy is using politics as a shield to walk away unpunished. The Inspector General stands there, mulling over the fact that even predicting cars, the forces of Town Ojiji are too treacherous. The villain still has the gall to ask, this is politics, isn't it? He basically threw the old man's ego in the trash. And there's that classic comparison. I'm never like rats with my hands tied by bureaucracy. The old man makes a decision that hurts his chest but releases the villain for now. He walks away. Knock Knock Pung exits the scene, but not without giving a piece of advice to our hero. He acknowledges that Ionho's martial art, the art of fluid grace, is formidable but notes one detail. Zhuao is using a bone-shrinking technique to maintain that appearance. He warns that sustaining this transformation drains combat effectiveness. It would be wiser to fight in his true form. Ionho, with that "I don't care" vibe, just responds that he'll keep that in mind for next time. Ionho gets real. I'd prefer there not to be a next time. But the villain, already moving away with his henchmen in the sunset, assures that there will be one, at least as long as he uses this. But the crying mood doesn't last long. He soon goes with a whatever and starts to walk. The sun is setting, the dust has settled, and he says, so this is the end, finally peace. Or is it? He runs out shouting, don't wake me up. He looks like a child running away from a bath. The girl's expression of indignation is priceless. She wonders what kind of person he is. The people around can only agree. The guy saved the day and the only reward he wants is to hibernate until the next century. Thus William Yono finally achieves his long-desired paradise. But do you think his peace will last long? He is there, drooling on the pillow with a conscience as clear as a blue sky. But, as with all good things, it doesn't last long. The door makes that creak sound, sending a chill down his spine. And look who appears in the shadows, the boss. She's come to ruin the party. The human alarm has arrived, and she didn't come with a good morning. She came with an order. The girl immediately tells him to wake up and warns him that it's no use pretending. She knows he's awake. Yono tries to argue about his full day of rest, but she doesn't want to hear it. My father is calling you. He still tries to play dumb, asking if he can see the old man later. But her patience explodes. She literally yanks the blanket off and throws the poor guy on the floor. Get up already. In the end, there was no way out. He had to go, all disheveled and complaining, to the office door of the gentleman. They enter the room and the general inspector is there with another bigwig sporting a mustache. The mustached man thanks the girl for her work and says she can leave. Yono, who isn't stupid, quickly seizes the opportunity to try to sneak out too. But the old man lets out a scream that must have shaken the walls. Not you. Yono stands there, pointing at himself with the most washed face in the world. I mean you, young man. The old man's face, filled with hate and veins popping on his forehead, shows that the conversation will be long and not easy. The girl leaves. Yono sits at the table looking like he wished he were dead. The mustached man gives a nod to the old general inspector. The old man sighs, that sigh of someone about to give the gold to the bandit. He pulls out a long black and golden object. That's enough. He slams the object on the table. Ion, who has a radar for expensive things, immediately reaches for it. He doesn't know what it is, but it shines and seems important. He is already interested. The problem is that Ion accepted the gift without even asking what it was. This will cost him dearly for his peace. The old man asks, do you know what this is? Ion, in all honesty, replies, no. Then the old man gets upset. Then what possessed you to accept it without questioning? Ion's response is worthy of an Oscar. It looked expensive. He even quotes his master. If it looks like money, take it first. Don't ask questions. The old man tries to explain what that sword is, but Ion cuts him off. No returns, don't be stingy. He even says he has already salivated on the item, so now it's his. The old man explodes. That sword is the sacred relic of the inspectorate. Basically, whoever carries that is treated as equal to the general inspector. Ion just got a high-ranking position. However, his reaction is nowhere near what the old man expected. Our protagonist asks if there are any practical benefits, like buying food or a house. He gets real. Giving and receiving is how the world works. He thinks status doesn't fill his stomach and suggests that the old man forget the relic and give money instead. The general inspector's hand is shaking with rage. Imagine giving the most important position in the kingdom to a guy, and he asks if he can swap it for some change to buy a snack. Ion is pushing his luck. The old man has been banging on the table all day in frustration, and what does Ione do? He waits. This is mine too. It looked expensive. The mustached man in the back has to intervene. The general inspector, trying to maintain the little sanity he has left, repeats, "That sword gives you a rank equal to mine." He is trying to hammer into the kid's head that he is now a top authority. But authority for someone who just wants to sleep sounds like a prison sentence, and Ione realized this way too quickly. So, basically more work for me. Ione summed up his nightmare in one sentence. The old man tries to say it's a government position, but for Ione it's all the same. Then the mustached man explains the reality. The inspectorate sends secret inspectors to the Central Plains and the position is vacant. The old man even promises to sell his own house to offer a reward if Iono accepts. The hero feels relieved. It doesn't seem problematic. Little does he know what he's getting into. Iono thinks it will be easy, but the inspector general has noticed something that could change everything. The atmosphere shifts. The old man realizes Iono was really going to sell the sacred relic. He processes this. He asks which clan Iono belongs to and who his master is. Iono, with that look of someone who holds state secrets, simply replies, "I can't say." The old man feels offended. "You don't answer because you don't trust me?" He puts the weight of his position on the table, but Joao remains unmoved. He looks deep into the inspector general's eyes. He prepares a response that will leave the old man speechless. It's not about identity. It's about something much deeper that Iono noticed in the old man. Iono drops the bomb. "I can't trust someone who hides their martial arts and pretends in front of everyone." He asks the old man, "How many seconds would it take you to defeat Nokamokapong? 5 or 3? Iono realizes the inspector general is a strong monster pretending to be weak. He says he doesn't like dancing on someone else's chessboard. The image shifts to a giant Go board, revealing they're in a power game. It's bigger than a simple neighborhood villain fight. Iono understands the whole game now. He will show he is not just a piece on the board. He exclaims, "I can't stand this." A chill that freezes the soul. The old man, with that face of someone who knows where the body is buried, asks if the boy knew he was skilled in martial arts. But our hero is a master of observation, right? He begins to explain that he found everything very strange from the beginning. Like, who in their right mind travels 1,000 miles just to play a game of Go? He doesn't doubt that there were too many people there claiming they wanted to play, but the smell of a setup was coming from afar. He realized that the plan was already in motion, and he had just dropped in out of nowhere amid the chaos. His choice wasn't based on blind loyalty. The reason is much more human. The old man questions, "Wasn't it obvious that you should have followed us?" But our protagonist throws logic into the fan. He says Nokimokipong's words seemed more truthful, and that even if the letter was fake, someone important like Irhangia was secretly gathering the country's elite. His verdict? Betrayal, for sure. But then comes the shock. He helped the old man's group for a reason nobody expected. It wasn't for politics. It was because the girl Hawaiian Ionio called out for him. He shamelessly admits that if he hadn't shown up, he would have bolted and disappeared into the world. But seeing that the girl knew nothing and was suffering made his heart of ice melt. The old man then figures it out. The protagonist acted suspiciously. That famous act of playing the fool to catch the king, just to see how the old man would react. Our hero, without any patience, asks the burning question, "Are you planning a betrayal?" The silence must have been deafening. The old man, with that smirk of someone holding an ace up his sleeve, replies, "And if I said yes, what would you do?" The old man is incredulous. "Even if I am betraying the empire, would you wish me success?" And our hero, with the biggest vibe of "what do I gain from this?" speaks the truth. The emperor has never given him anything, so why should he be loyal? If he has to choose, he prefers to root for the old man. After all, it was the old man who paid him in gold. The old man can't help himself and bursts into laughter. He says he knew he was crafty, but he has surpassed all expectations. It's in that moment that the villain, or almost that, recognizes he has found someone as slick as he is. After the laugh, the old man stops and swears on his own life. They are not planning any betrayal. The plan was just to join forces to withstand the pressure against someone named Nokti. The problem is that Nokti isn't stupid and has already caught on to their movements. And here comes the twist. Do you know why Nokti sent Nokmokpung there? It wasn't to capture anyone. It was for him to die at the old man's hands. That's right, the guy sent his own ally to the slaughter just to have an excuse to claim that the old man was hiding martial arts and gathering an army. It's the four-dimensional chess of evil, where you sacrifice a bishop just to ruin your opponent's reputation. Our protagonist stands there processing the magnitude of these people's dirtiness. With the truth on the table, the old man makes a proposal that could change our lazy hero's life. The old man apologizes for using the young man as a pawn, saying that he and the one called Anne were desperate. The protagonist, with that face of okay, I get it, jumps to the end and accepts the apology. Then the old man drops the bomb. Do you accept the position of Royal Secret Inspector? It is the famous public job that nobody wants, because it gives too much work. Our hero immediately warns, I will let you know that I am never going to look for trouble on my own. He wants the job. However, the old man delivers the most cliché but true line in the book. I don't care, because even if you don't want to, the world will never leave you in peace. It is destiny knocking on the door, and the protagonist just wants to pretend there's no one at home. The old man, all pompous, says this is the hero's path. And what does our hero do? He steps back. He boldly refuses fate. He stands up, says he is leaving, and throws the biggest curse of all. I sincerely hope we never see each other again. But the old man, with that look of someone who has read the script to the end, comments that he feels they will meet again very soon. The protagonist leaves, even feeling a shiver down his spine. He feels that his piece just jumped off the roof. As soon as he leaves, the old man's mask falls off. We see what he really thinks of the young man. The old man admits that the boy is much more than he expected. He knew the kid was strong, but not that he was a master level capable of seeing through his own techniques. The little mustached assistant agrees. The risk is worth it. But the old man is worried. The boy's cleverness is unusual. He understood the whole situation and didn't move a finger until the end. The order is now clear. Investigate everything about him. What will they discover about the past of our lazy hero? And will he manage to take his nap before the next problem appears? The night is beautiful, the moon is huge, but the mood is not romantic. No folks, our protagonist Ryan is there, sprawled on the roof, enjoying the breeze, when the owner of the house, that elderly man who seems like a super calm academic, arrives quietly and asks, "Are you leaving?" He stands up and admits that since the guy provided him with food and shelter, it wouldn't be fair to disappear without saying goodbye. He asks if Ryan plans to leave soon. The answer? A very dry yes, but loaded with meaning. Ryan confesses that despite everything, he saw and learned a lot while he was there. The old man, with that face of someone who even knows what you had for breakfast, asks what exactly Ryan learned. He says he learned two things. First, not even someone who reads all the books in the world can live life as if it were a deep book, right? But the second point is the true key to the mystery. He said that place, the bullying, is much scarier than he imagined. The man makes that face like but Ryan is being real. He never imagined he would find the strongest master of all there. He even praises Iranga's martial arts, saying they are amazing. To top it all off, he gives that smile of someone who knows everything and says, "You shouldn't stop this little play now, crazy." Ryan just unmasked one of the most powerful guys in Miram as if he were asking for a glass of water. "Did you know?" And Ryan, with the calmest demeanor in the world, replies that he knew since the beginning. The master feels a bit awkward, says that this is problematic and asks for a favor. Ryan accepts the deal. He won't gossip to anyone, but in exchange he wants an answer. He tells that his master sent him to Rulin to see the world, hoping to find justice and integrity. But what he saw was just the ugliness and rottenness of humanity. The master then shifts into wise teacher mode and explains that everyone has their own ideals. But when those ideals clash with reality, things get ugly. The conversation is getting deep, but the master is about to give the most important lesson on how the world really works. Ryan, who deep down has a well-hidden heart, asks if the whole world is this garbage. The old man's answer is a bucket of cold water. The imperial palace is even worse, but the rest doesn't change much. Ryan vents, saying that the world spins too fast for someone lazy like him to understand or feel anything. But then comes the twist. The master says that this is great. If the world is fast, you can just go slowly. While the hardworking see a lot, those who are lazy and take their time can see everything much more clearly. It's the first time someone validates our protagonist's laziness as a virtue. The master plants the final seed. If you already decide what you're going to feel before you see, what's the point of life? Ryan sits there processing, seeing the world as it is. He closes his eyes and enters a state of deep meditation. Suddenly things get crazy. An absurd blue energy starts to erupt from him, connecting directly with the moon. He begins to feel everything. It's that classic shonen moment. The protagonist levels up just by thinking a little. The master stands still, only watching the light show, probably thinking, what have I created? Hiwan just had a cosmic insight. But did he really understand the lesson or just take a gourmet nap? After that entire spectacle of lights and energy, which felt like the end of an epic movie, the aura finally fades. The master, curious to know if his student for one day became enlightened, asks, "Do you feel like you understood anything?" And Ray 1, being the same old Ray 1, gives that awkward little laugh. He scratches his head and replies, "To be honest, I'm not very sure." The master bursts out laughing, saying that this is already enough. Some things we only understand with the heart, not with logic. He bids farewell and leaves, leaving our protagonist there, alone with his thoughts and laziness. The master departed but left a mystery in the air. What changed inside Ray 1 after this lunar trance? Our hero stands there on the rooftop, staring into space, until he decides to throw himself back and relax. But while he lies there, he starts to feel something strange coming from his chest. He places his hand over his heart and thinks, is the inner core my master gave me having any effect? He feels a pulsation, an energy that seems to be reacting to everything that happened. He stares at the moon, trying to decipher what his own master wanted him to see in the world. But the master of Aeon decides to pay a visit in his dreams. The master asks, with that voice that echoes in the soul, "Have you attained enlightenment?" Aeon, even while sleeping, maintains his honesty. "I'm still not sure, master." It's a beautiful scene, with the moon in the background, showing that his journey is just beginning. But then time flies. Night turns into day. The sun appears and we hear a voice asking about a certain consignment item. The camera descends and we see Rayon sleeping, the sleep of the just, on top of a pile of wooden boxes. The guy has no limits, he sleeps anywhere. The consignment item has arrived at its destination. The consignment item is none other than the yo-yo-yo, or rather, our Rayon. The guy is literally being transported as if he were a load of silk or spices. The guy is in deep sleep. He is completely unaware that he has become merchandise. He didn't want to walk, so he found a way to be taken for free. The old man bluntly asks, "Didn't you say you were leaving?" And look at our protagonist's audacity. He says, "Oh, it's already late today. I'll go tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll go." Folks, his tomorrow has already lasted 2 weeks. The old man even tries to be patient. But let's face it, Rayon is pushing his luck. However, the cozy chat is interrupted. Someone finally arrived at the Dragonscape agency. The atmosphere has changed. This is where Ange shows she has not a shred of pity in her heart. With the coldest demeanor, she points at Rayon and says, "That thing over there." That thing, folks. The guy's ego went straight to the trash. Now Rayon, poor thing, even points to himself like, "Me?" And Ange, without a smile, continues saying that, although he looks like a person, he is basically a cargo. It's the peak of humiliation. The guy saved their lives and is now being treated like a package that nobody wants at home. The agency guy tries to maintain professionalism. You know? He says they even listen to people. But then, they need a carriage, a whole different arrangement. But Ange is determined to get rid of the burden. She gets real, don't worry. The wagon carries good and chicken. This one isn't much different. And when the escort starts stammering about the rules, she plays the ace. "We'll pay double." The guy hesitates. "We'll pay triple." He tries to talk about the rules. "We'll pay quadruple." At that point, there's no ethics that can resist, right? The handshake came quicker than a promotion notification 4 times. They'll even take the devil if needed. And Rayon, well, he's there watching his own sale, with that face of disbelief. Rayon finally explodes. "What are you saying? You're going to carry me as cargo and send me away?" And Ange, cool as a cucumber, just replies, "You're quick to understand things." What a slap, my friends. Her father arrives trying to be the good cop. He says since he did them a favor, they should let him do what he wants in return. Rayon immediately shoots back. "Then I'll stay here until next year." Major misstep, my friend. The look of no way he had. What the old man and Ange do to him is priceless. He calls the guy a parasite to his face. But Yonde has an argument that might even convince our favorite lazy one, or not. Yonde has now decided to use logic. She asks if he wasn't wanting to go to Roubaix, to the Sao-Sul station. Rayon is a bit, "Yeah, maybe." Then she delivers the checkmate. "Since you are going there, go with the convoy. You don't want to walk there, do you?" And surprise, the argument worked. Rayon admits it's true, but he's still a bit suspicious. "It's a win-win for everyone," she says with that little smile of someone who just sold a marketing course. Rayon even said, "Very convincing," but he still tries one last card. "My mom told me not to follow strangers." Oh, give me a break, right? The fate of our package is sealed. And there goes our sovereign lazy one, starting his epic journey, sitting on some barrels in an ox cart. But the truth is he was kicked out with style. Yonde's father wishes him a good trip. But what about Yonde? Yonde is beaming. Rayon notices and asks, "You seem pretty happy about this, huh?" And she, without hiding anything, replies, "Did you notice? His freedom cost 4 times the price of a regular freight." The convoy starts to move, and Aeon is now officially a shipment item. On the way to Roubaix. "Let's go," says Aeon, trying to accept that now his bed is a pile of wooden boxes. The cart starts to shake, making that classic sound of old wood. He simply throws himself back. He looks at the mansion gate fading behind him, and it hits him. He really became cargo. It's a somewhat beautiful scene, with the autumn leaves falling, but the context is pure comedy. Then Igi from afar shout, "Stay healthy." Rayon from his throne of barrels grumbles that they gave the disease and then the cure, and that they shouldn't have kicked him out in the first place. The father and daughter enter satisfied with the mission accomplished of household cleaning, while the convoy disappears on the horizon, while Enji gives that little smile of mission accomplished and thinks, "A goodbye, you strange bum." The camera focuses on who will really suffer. Meet Gogbei Rong, the chief of the Dragon Escort Agency convoy. And look at the guy's face. He looks at Rayon and asks, "So, the package you brought is?" He can't even finish the sentence. He is probably processing that they paid a fortune to transport a guy who looks like he hasn't bathed in 3 days. He has the energy of a sloth. Will Goku Bianchi manage to deliver this entire shipment? Our hero's life as a delivery man starts like this. If you thought he would ride in on a white horse, you were dead wrong. The guy is literally sprawled on a cart, sleeping like the dead. Meanwhile, the escort guards look at him with that "Are you serious?" expression. They are stunned because, let's be honest, transporting a human being requires much more logistical effort than a box of apples. But the order came straight from the venerable Raleigh mansion, so who are they to say no? The atmosphere is pure workplace gossip. "He has been like this since we left the mansion," one of them says. "People, the dude hasn't even woken up with the bumps in the road." The boss decides that enough is enough. He is going to wake the sleeping beauty. He approaches, banging on the wood of the cart, shouting a "Hey, you there!" Very endearing. Our protagonist wakes up upside down. He has that look of someone interrupted at the best moment of their dream. He audaciously says, "What's up?" The escort chief tries to maintain his composure. He introduces himself pompously as the person responsible for the transport. But our hero just responds with, "So what?" The sarcasm comes factory installed, my friends. The chief tries to give the kid a reality check, but his response is peak Tony. Then the escort chief tries to warn him, "Look, this trip isn't for people, it's for cargo." With the utmost peace of mind, he replies with a line that should be framed, "Don't worry, I was registered as cargo, not as a person." Cut to 5 days later, and the vibe has completely changed. Boredom struck hard, and our package is there, yawning as if he is about to swallow the whole cart. 5 days being shaken back and forth. Who wouldn't be losing it? When he's awake, he wants to sleep. And when he sleeps, a crooked master appears in his dreams to torture him. It's the famous training in dreams. The old man gives him no break, screaming at him to swing the sword faster. Imagine the mental exhaustion of the guy. He wakes up in a cold sweat, wondering if his life will be this endless loop of being cargo by day and a spiritual punching bag by night. "Ah, I don't want to know," he says, trying to get back to his zen mode of cargo. But we know that his psyche is hanging by a thread. Not just rest or torture, but something very real and dangerous interrupts in the middle of the road. Suddenly the camp vibe ends. The escort leader freezes everything with a weight that even makes the wind chill. He senses something in the bushes and shouts the classic warning of someone who doesn't want to die today. Our hero, from the cart, simply raises his head thinking, "Bandits." He is so used to the bazaar that he hardly moves. The problem is that no one responds to the leader's call. Silence in the middle of the forest is never a good sign. The guard's face is already drenched in cold sweat. If no one has come out, this is serious. Silence is the worst possible response. He already puts his hand on his sword, ready for whatever comes next. The worst part is that he can't feel anything coming from the bushes. This means the opponent is no rookie trying to steal bread. The tension is so high that you can hear the sound of dry leaves. And then, out of nowhere, something starts to move. Prepare your hearts, because what comes out of the bushes is not a petty thief, it's a heavyweight. Forget about those second-rate bandits. What emerges from the shadows is a guy who exudes power. He carries a blade that looks more like an iron pole. The escort leader stands in shock. The big guy introduces himself with all the pomp. "I am Penguik, from the blade style of the Rube Peng family." The escort leader, trying not to wet his pants, returns the formal greeting. But the burning question is, what is an heir of the powerful Peng family doing lost in the middle of the bushes, approaching a cargo cart? He gets real. "I am being pursued and can't shake them off alone. Please help me." And he doesn't stop there. Meanwhile, our protagonist watches everything from the cart with that face of someone who sees more work coming. A quick flashback rolls in, and an old man is talking about the guy who treated you like trash. It seems that our hero and this Peng have crossed paths before, and it wasn't at a friendly tea party. Fate loves irony. This reunion between the two is not by chance. The protagonist looks at the desperate warrior with a deep gaze, almost as if he is reading the guy's soul. It's that moment of silence before the storm where we realize that the cargo in the cart knows much more than it appears. The Pendogel is there, sweating, asking for help. He has no idea that the guy he ignored in the past is the same one lying there now, judging him. The river of misfortune is already starting to overflow. My friends, just look at this warrior in red. The Painho is in trouble. The guy has the expression of someone who forgot the beans on the stove. But the truth is, the hole goes much deeper. "Help me get out of this mountain and I'll cover you in gold." Then Berenguer, who is not stupid at all, smells trouble and money from afar. He accepts the BO right away. "Alright, I'll help. But hey, Speed, get into that barrel over there before things go south." And the Dogyu, the master of chivalry, agrees to become barrel pickles just to escape. Look at our protagonist's unfriendly face in the corner, just watching the nonsense. Meanwhile, B-Rang is there, very careful, closing the barrel lid for the Doguke to enter. "The house is yours, or rather, the barrel is yours." The Doguke thanks as if he had won an upgrade to first class. Then, B-Rang gives the final warning. "Keep your mouth shut, okay? If you sneeze in there, we're fried." And our protagonist, well, he has quite a sarcastic opinion about all this charity. The cart starts to move with that wooden tick-tock creaking, which is even nerve-wracking. And from inside the barrel, the dojo keeps up a conversation of gratitude. "If I caused trouble, I apologize in advance." But the protagonist does not buy this reward talk so easily. He speaks plainly. What good is payment if everyone turns into ham? Bairang only responds with a half-hearted "understood." The plan was to go down the mountain smoothly, but fate loves a dramatic twist. Bairang is there guiding the horses and even crossing his toes. We're almost at the foot of the mountain. For now, no one has appeared looking for the Painho Gliek. He is in that mode of, if I don't look to the side, the problem won't see me. The scream that no one wanted to hear echoes through the forest. The scream cuts through the air and Bairang's heart. And it's not just one, folks. In the blink of an eye, the cart is surrounded by an army of shadows emerging from the bushes. It's the kind of greeting no one wants to receive on any journey. Bai Wang recognizes the uniform and the desperation only increases. Look at the leader's style, a scar on his face, a green mask and a sword that shines brighter than a jewelry commercial. Trying to save his neck, Biang makes a bow, as if pleading, for God's sake. I am Goku Biang, from the Dragão Veloz Escort Agency. It is an honor to meet the members of the Floresta Verde. The masked man gets straight to the point, no frills. Did you see a young man in red clothes passing by here? Biang, a master at the art of lying, with the cleanest face in the world, replies, red clothes? No, we didn't see anyone like that. The villain gives him a stare, as if reading the poor guy's soul, and drops the classic threat. Seriously, if you're lying, misfortune will chase you to hell. But then, the villain points his finger at our protagonist, who is lying down as if on a beach hammock. And who is that over there? The atmosphere becomes heavy. A precious load, perhaps. Biang needs to come up with a really good excuse, and fast. The silence is so deep you can hear the sweat running. Biang approaches the villain and whispers, trying to be discreet. It's just that we are hearing someone with a weak body and unstable mind in the hall. Fair enough, no need to worry about him. Basically, he called the protagonist a headcase to see if they let it slide. The villain asks if he is really saying there is no reason for them to be enemies. Biang confirms, of course, why would we do something so reckless? And then our protagonist, with the most mocking face ever, drops the bombshell. I didn't see anyone in red. Biang mentally short-circuits. Wait, did he really specify red clothes? The villain loses his patience and the blade comes into play. Do you think this is a joke? The villain draws the knife and presses it right against Biang's neck. The poor guy makes a desperate face that would make a great meme if it weren't tragic. The protagonist looks at the scene and thinks, alright, this will work. The villain decides that if no one speaks the truth willingly, he'll make them talk the bloody way. The villain's plan is worthy of a horror movie. Let's start by killing one of you. If he knows nothing, we move on to the next. The villain presses the poor worker. Answer. Did you see the young man in red clothes? The guy is shaking so much that it looks like he is having a seizure. I, with that smile of someone who loves a disaster, declare, so, it seems that death is going to answer for you. But before the blood can splatter, a voice suddenly appears to ruin the villain's party. Baring tries to free himself, shouting, damn it, but then comes the bucket of cold water. A calm and cutting voice says, he is here. Everyone freezes instantly. The villain stops his attack. The henchmen look up. Bianca wears a face of disbelief that he did that. The shock is universal. The protagonist isn't afraid to repeat himself. Now he sits, all imposing on the cart, facing danger head-on. The villain, still processing the audacity, asks, what did you just say? Without a hint of hesitation, the protagonist kicks the lid off the barrel and states the truth. He is here. What are you looking for? Pain Doge. He says the guy's name as if delivering a delayed package. Barengai and the rest of the escort are in total shock. X times 9. The protagonist doesn't stop there and gives the fugitive a sermon. Ah, you got caught. You can come out now, says the protagonist with the utmost calm. Barengai is freaking out. What are you doing, you idiot? But the hero doesn't care. Enough. There is nothing more stupid than risking your life for others. Were you going to wait for everyone here to die before showing your face? He throws the truth in Doju's face, who is inside the barrel, just listening to the scolding. The barrel starts to shake. The moment of truth has arrived. Finally, the Red Warrior decides that he can't hide anymore. Pain Doju emerges from the barrel, huffing with anger and shame. The villain doesn't miss the chance to gloat. If you had run away, you might have had a minimal chance of surviving. But Doju, trying to maintain the clan's honor, replies, if I hadn't done this, everyone here would already be dead. The villain wraps up with that classic mockery. Oh, so you're trying to play the knight in shining armor. Now, I may not be a hero, but I am not an idiot who would stand by and watch innocent people die without doing anything. He turns to the escort leader and delivers that Oscar-worthy farewell speech, saying he will resolve everything alone because the targets are after him. But we know that in real life this rarely ends well, right? But will the rest of the gang accept all this sacrifice just like that? While the escort leader is left hanging, sweating and unsure whether to thank or call the asylum, the atmosphere is heavier than a Monday morning. However, there is someone there who really wants to prevent this cheap drama from continuing. Suddenly, our protagonist with black hair, who was just sitting on the crates watching the show, decides to speak up and ruin the wake. We can't leave yet, he says directly. The escort leader, already confused, asks what he means by that. Our hero tells it straight. They are heading towards the green forest. And what's there? Death. So what's the logical solution for the villains? Kill everyone there so no one is left to tell the story. The masked ones are startled. Like, wow! The kid figured out our plan. The escort leader, realizing that Dogwell basically brought a death sentence for everyone, can only scream, you crazy bastard. Dogwell tried to be the savior, but ended up being the guy who brought the apocalypse to the group. Now Dogwell is in total panic. He starts stammering, saying he will fix what he started, that it's his fault and that he will hold them right there. But look at the irony. Our protagonist is back there, just watching the chaos and thinking, what a ridiculous guy. He still tells the escort leader the reality. There's no point in running away. The guys already know who they are. If they run, the escort agency will be destroyed before the news even reaches the Pain clan. The leader, already hopeless, can only ask, "So what do we do?" The answer is simple but hard to swallow. "We have to fight," says the protagonist with that look of someone who already knows the outcome of the battle. Meanwhile, Dogwell, who has one last diplomatic card to play, asks if the villains really won't let them go. The masked leader's response: "We don't need to say it twice. Attack!" There, the small talk is over and Steel is about to sing. The leader of the masked men arrives yelling, "Don't blame me if you die," and charges in full force. The swords begin to clash. The sound of metal striking metal fills the air. Dogwell, who is in the middle trying to prove he's not just dead weight, blocks attacks and tries to keep his cool. Sparks fly everywhere and the choreography is on point. You can feel the pressure of each blow. The Dogyu feels that the situation is much deeper than he imagined. In the midst of chaos, the Dogyu begins to have those deep thoughts that only appear when death is knocking at the door. He dodges blades that want to chop him into pieces. The Dogyu enters an internal monologue worthy of a Korean drama. They say the martial world is vast, but if I had known it was this vast and dangerous, I would never have gotten involved. Look at regret knocking. He remembers when he was praised as an up-and-coming star. The Duke is surrounded, exhausted. He realizes that because of his arrogance, everyone's life is hanging by a thread. It's the moment when the hero realizes he is just human. His mistake could cost others too much. When everything seems lost, the villain decides to deliver the final blow. In the last millisecond, a blue light cuts through the scene like a bolt of lightning. Who threw that chat code in the middle of the fight? Boom, the masked figure that was going to finish off the Dogyu flies away with a tremendous impact. The Dogyu opens his eyes, completely confused, not understanding how his head is still on his neck. The camera turns to show the author of the feat, who is more relaxed than we are on a Sunday. And look who it is. Our protagonist is there sitting calmly with a cup in hand, as if he were watching a video of kittens on YouTube. Our red warrior is in shock with that look of someone who has seen a ghost, or worse, someone who has seen someone get knocked out by a bowl. He lets out a "what?" that echoes the soul of everyone watching. And the culprit, our master of rest, is there sitting on the load, with the most laid-back expression in the world. He doesn't even get up. He looks at the red warrior and states the truth. "You are getting distracted again." But while our protagonist continues his picnic on the cart, the red warrior realizes that if he doesn't do something now, he will be the water ghost. The atmosphere heats up. He looks at the guy up high making strange movements with his hands, probably cleaning another bowl because audacity knows no bounds. He wonders what on earth he is doing there, but his focus quickly returns. He knows he needs to regain his composure. Now is not the time to be curious, he thinks as sweat drips down. The enemies close in. It's that classic shonen moment. This is the moment when the character decides to give his all or become just a memory. He takes a deep breath. The aura begins to change. Then he announces the technique that promises to clear the field. Gate-destroying blade to 5 tigers. Just look at the name of this technique, folks. He becomes a human blender, releasing energy cuts of pink that look like party lasers. But they cut more than a knife through butter. The enemies, who were once full of bravado, can now only exclaim, "I'm going to die." The warrior realizes that this is not a knightly duel. It's a full-blown street fight. So there's no reason to keep trying to dodge or block every little attack. He simply rolls over them like a bulldozer. It's beautiful to watch. The problem is that even with all this power, fatigue hits him. The warrior in red realizes he won't be able to keep up this pace alone for long. The situation tightens. On the edge, he shouts what everyone wanted to scream, "Come down here and help me." The response from our protagonist is, I'm a transport item, remember people? Look at this guy's audacity. He has declared himself a commodity to avoid moving a muscle. The slacker explains that a wicked girl told him that if something happened, he should stay up there to avoid causing more trouble. According to her, if he got involved, he would be harming the Rollin Institute and she would hunt him down to the ends of the earth to make his life miserable. And the worst part, he claims he tends to keep the promises he makes. It's the perfect excuse. He's not lazy. He's just a man of his word who fears an angry woman. Who hasn't been there, right? The desperation is so great that the blue ally decides to resort to the only language that our protagonist really understands, self-interest. The blue ally is almost turning into chopped meat. 80 is his last card. Don't you think it will be uncomfortable traveling if we die? The protagonist, with that eternal sleepy face, replies, "I'm not very comfortable right now either." That's the opening. The blue guy, who is no fool, immediately makes the offer. "If all goes well, we'll rest for 2 days in a facility in the next city." Our master of relaxation's eyes even sparkle. 2 days? He asks. And the bonus comes right after. You can eat whatever you want too. With the blue ally's desperate yes, the bowls start to fly. Now that the stomach and sleep are secured, he moves like a blue blur. He delivers blows that look more like explosions. It's the kind of scene that makes you blink twice to understand how the extras ended up on the ground so fast. One of the guys, with a face like he saw a ghost, can only let out a "what?" as blood pours, and no wonder, right? The guy is operating on another level. Even the masked guy, who should be the tough one in the group, is in total shock and realizes the obvious. He is a martial master. Yeah, genius, took you long enough to notice. As bodies fly and swords fall, our hero calmly walks through the chaos. He approaches the Red Warrior and lets out a dry hey that sends chills down your spine. It's that moment when you know the scolding is going to be big. He decides to give that moral lecture nobody asked for but everyone needed to hear. He looks straight at the Red Warrior and gets real. Did you bring these guys here? Shouldn't you be trying your best if you have any sense of guilt? The guy is all bloodied up, with a look of where did I get myself into? And the hero keeps crushing his ego. He starts analyzing the poor guy's technique as if he were a food critic judging instant noodles. You use a strong heavy blade but it's slow. What are you going to do fighting several people with a slow sword? Are you trying to commit suicide? The poor guy can only stammer an amen. Then comes the moment of pure mockery. The protagonist simply tells him to wait his turn or focus on one at a time and then suddenly says from here, and takes the sword from the guy's hand before he even reacts. The level of humiliation has been successfully updated. Now with the other sword in hand, he will show how it's really done. He makes a move so absurd that it opens a crater in the ground and unleashes a shockwave that makes the enemies look like leaves in the wind. The Red Warrior goes into total panic. The gate-destroying blade of the 5 tigers. How does he know this? The guy's shock is real because the protagonist simply copied his secret technique just by watching for a few seconds. The hero continues the sermon. If you're going to fight a lot of people, you have to swing this faster. He explains that less energy on the blade does not mean the opponent will survive and that sometimes you need to sacrifice strength for speed. He shouts in the warrior's face. Why is this so hard to understand? The poor guy in red is so intimidated that he lets out an automatic "I'm sorry." He throws out a "then do better" and turns his back. Meanwhile, the masked enemy is back there, trembling more than a green twig. He sees the Red Warrior regain his posture. The warrior decides to focus on speed and precision now. The guy in red even tries to strike a tough pose, saying, "We'll be back to get you later." But our protagonist is already far away. He walks as if nothing happened, complaining that this is so frustrating. He just wiped the floor with those guys and left, grumbling about mental exhaustion. With the threat gone, it's time to settle accounts with those who are left. Our hero isn't the type to do charity for free. The leader of the escort, all polite, comes to thank him. "Thank you for everything." The protagonist, not missing a chance, replies with just gratitude. The guy is left speechless. The hero says, "Just kidding," but we know that deep down he would accept an easy payment. The leader of the escort asks why he was so cold to the Red Warrior. That's when the protagonist takes off his playful mask and lays down the raw truth. "Mister, you would have died if I hadn't been there. The others too. All because of that guy." But our hero's life philosophy goes far beyond just being irritating. He has a specific worldview about what is worth it. The leader of the escort tries to defend the Red Warrior, saying that he seemed to have his reasons. But our protagonist doesn't care about good intentions. He shoots back immediately. Does that justify killing people? And here he quotes his master, stating the phrase that should be on a plaque. There is nothing more stupid than risking your life for something that does not concern you. He questions whether the leader of the escort has not suffered enough to stop caring about that guy. It's a cold shower on any idea of classic heroism. The guy is overly realistic. After this reality check, it's time to continue on their way. The conversation ends with the escort leader mentioning that the Orthodox Mourinho Alliance will take care of the Green Forest problem. They say goodbye with the vibe of, "It was good while it lasted, but I hope not to see you again." The leader says, "I hope to see you again." The protagonist, as sincere as a mule's kick, replies, "Probably not." As he walks away, the leader of the escort stays there, thinking it would be great if the hero were a bit more disciplined. Little does he know that discipline is the last thing on this crazy guy's priority list. Finally, our hero arrives where he wanted. He stops in front of an imposing gate and breathes a sigh of relief. "I finally made it." The place is nothing less than the mansion of the Hand of Nature, the Wei clan from Guangdong. Inside, the atmosphere is heavy. A man and a woman lament that they couldn't find the so-called Yun. But then the mood changes in a snap. The messenger rushes in shouting for the patriarch. "There's a message, young Master William sent a letter." The patriarch's face is a mix of shock, relief, and pure emotion. Our laid-back and absurdly strong protagonist is the missing young master. We have this handsome guy with long hair, looking like he walked straight out of a high-end shampoo commercial, complaining that even a simple plan has failed. He looks with contempt that hurts the soul at the hulking guy kneeling in front of him and asks, "Were you so scared to die like this?" The guy, sweating bullets and trembling like a green twig, gives a response that tries to maintain dignity. "No. If I died at the hands of Iwangia, it would have made sense, but I did nothing against him." The crazy guy basically says he only wants to die for something worthwhile. But daddy over there doesn't care about philosophy. He delivers the heaviest real talk of the day. "I don't keep useless dogs. If you want to stay by my side, you at least have to know how to fetch a bone." The big guy leaves with his tail between his legs, while the master stays with that little smirk, knowing the guy will end up having to enter the forest anyway. But if you think this hulking guy would leave there crying in the shower, get ready, because the mask falls faster than Wi-Fi signal on a rainy day. Just look at the audacity. As soon as he turns his back, the puppy turns into a wolf, or rather, a fierce critic. He calls the master a useless, ambitious pig and still adds, "That one never knows his place." As he walks all imposing, a ninja emerges from the shadows. Every good manhwa has to have a masked guy appearing out of nowhere. He warns that the Nokia still has value and must be kept alive. The big guy in possession asks how long he will have to flatter that castrated fool, but duty calls. The ninja informs that there has been a summons from the main property. The guy has to return as quickly as possible. He opens a smile that would scare even the boogeyman. He celebrates that, finally, he will be able to get rid of this miserable disguise. In other words, the guy has been living a lie all this time. He is already eyeing the spoils, saying that when the usefulness of that Nokia ends, everything he has will be his. Greedy, can you imagine? He even asks about the brothers. The gossiping ninja tells that they stopped bothering the Confucianists and are now focused on disrupting the medical clan. Remember this name because that is where the story is going. Now the scene shifts to an imposing building called Lustful Handgrounds. There we see our protagonist, with that confused look, being greeted with "You came to the wrong place." The old man at the reception looks at the letter and gets real. This is a recommendation for the lands of the Sacred Hand, but you are at Lustful Handgrounds. The guy explains that the famous place is actually in Roebuck, and that he even knows the master there. The protagonist has that look of "where do I hide my head?" As our hero walks despondently, he sees the sad reality. People begging for help, praying for the lives of wives and parents. The nice doctors saying no money, no treatment. The heavy Monday vibe hit hard here. Our protagonist stands there reflecting that the medical clan, which should save lives, turned its back on the people for coins. Disappointed with the medical elite, he decides to go after that little place in the alley. Is that where the magic happens? Our hero is in that reflective moment, thinking how everything in the end boils down to money. He follows the advice of the old man, crosses the street and enters the alley. He finds an old sign lying on the ground, confirming that this is the Sacred Hand Grounds. He looks at the crumbling gate and wonders, is this really the medical clan of 500 years? He enters awkwardly, asking if anyone is home. He is probably expecting to meet an ancient master with a beard down to his feet, but what appears in front of him is not what he or we were expecting. Instead of a millennia-old sage, what shows up is a kid. That's right, a child who looks like he is still learning how to tie his shoes. The protagonist asks for the boss, and the kid, with the utmost audacity, says, "You can talk." Our hero is stunned. What does he mean, "you can talk"? Where is the owner? Then comes the bombshell. The boy's father died last year, so now he, little Jin, is the boss of the Sacred Handgrounds. People. The protagonist goes into total meltdown. He starts shouting, cursing the master who sent him there, and begging to go home. But in the middle of his freakout, a feminine voice asks what is happening. If the master is a child, who is this sister who just arrived? Prepare your hearts. Forget the despair. Time stops and we see Janira, and let me tell you, she is stunning. The protagonist is so mesmerized that he even forgets how to speak. She asks what he wants with her father, and he, all flustered, hands over the letter of recommendation. She reads it calmly and realizes he came to learn from the medical clan. Our hero, still somewhat in a trance from the girl's beauty, can only mumble, "It's something like that," but beauty does not fill the belly. The situation of this clan is worse than we imagined. Ingarana is sincere. She admits that the place can no longer be called a medical clan, but she makes a heavy emotional appeal, saying that sending away someone sent by Uncle Mum would bring shame to her deceased father. She practically begs him to stay. Cut to the protagonist already sitting on the floor, complaining about that Master Moon and calling him an academic, thick-headed, but he ends up giving in. "Oh, whatever. It's still the home of a doctor. I guess I can stay." He flops down on the floor ready to take a nap, when he hears knocks on the door. What could it be now? A surprise medical exam or something more delicious? Guys, Ingarana appears with a feast that looks like a Christmas dinner. There is everything, and the smell must be divine. The protagonist is in shock. "I could eat this for 3 days. He even invites her to eat with him, but she refuses, saying that she already had dinner. He starts eating, all happy. He thinks that the clan is not as poor as it seemed, but then his ear, sharper than a chef's knife, picks up a whispered conversation outside. The little brother asks, "Sister, how did you get all this food? We didn't even have rice." Ira, trying to keep her composure, tells him to be quiet because the guest is eating. The kid insists and asks about her necklace. She says she kept it for now. The atmosphere becomes heavy. The protagonist realizes that the wonderful food came at a very high price. "Did you sell the necklace?" "It was our mother's keepsake." Ira tries to explain that she only pawned the necklace. She will get it back when things get better. Our hero completely loses his appetite. He feels like trash for eating the necklace of someone else's deceased mother. He tries to refuse the food, but Ira, always kind, asks if he didn't like it and offers to make something else. He falls into despair. "It's not that I didn't like it." The next day, our hero sets off on a jewelry rescue mission. The protagonist wakes up feeling the weight of the food and the guilt. He decides to go to the Silver River Exchange to retrieve the necklace. Once there, he is greeted by the manager, a guy named Rai Daibung, who has that classic villain look, loving money more than his own mother. Our hero says he came to fetch an item left by the people of Sacred Handgrounds. The manager, with a cynical smirk, explains that the item was not sold, it was pawned, and he cannot simply return it. He looks at the protagonist with invisible disdain, saying he has never heard of it around there before. The business talk is about to begin, and we already know that this manager doesn't play fair. The protagonist throws a bag of coins on the table and asks if that would suffice. The manager looks, sifts through the coins and replies, it's not enough. The hero retorts that there are more than 2 taels of silver, enough for a family to live on for months, but then comes the blow. The manager explains that the house rule is to charge 3 times the loan amount to return the item, and if it's not paid within 3 months, the amount triples again. It's pure loan sharking shamelessly. The protagonist is furious. This is usury, isn't it? And the chubby guy doesn't even flinch. Those are the rules. If you don't like it, you can sell the item for good. Our hero realizes the trap. The medical clan, already out of rice, would never be able to pay this debt. They were going to lose their mother's memory forever. But the manager made a fatal mistake. He doesn't know who he is dealing with. The protagonist takes a deep breath and asks if they accept guarantees. He pulls out a gold object and places it on the table. The manager, with eyes gleaming with greed, confirms that it is pure gold. He offers a certain amount of gold for it, but he already starts mentioning that the payment would have to be triple. However, as he examines the piece, his smile disappears faster than money on a bill due day. He sees a seal, the inspectorate's office. The guy goes into complete shock. The protagonist, with that look of now the game has turned, calmly asks, "That's right, it was 3 taels of gold, right?" The manager realizes he has messed with the highest authority and lets out a desperate scream. "I am doomed. The influence of a certain Nocti has fallen more than the stocks of a shell company. Now the villains are considering giving up everything. But hold on." The gossip continues. Besides the palace, things went wrong in the Green Forest too. The Rube Peng clan got involved, and the feeling that everything has gone wrong only grows. The leader asks if the clan realized the real plan, but the subordinate, with that face of someone who wants a raise but only brings bad news, says they seem to think it was just an attack by common bandits. Problems happen in large schemes, says the master of patience. But while these villains try to organize themselves amidst the chaos, someone is about to have a fit over a very specific object. While the villains swear they will make their debut in the world and show how terrifying their sword is, remember that seal that Ian was carrying? That's right. The pawnshop owner finally looked closely, and his eye almost popped out. The guy is sweating cold, shaking like a green rod, because he realized the colossal mistake he made. This is a real inspector. You try to con a guy and find out he carries the Imperial Federal badge. It's asking to be cancelled from life, right? No. Now how is our protagonist going to react upon seeing this con artist nearly having a heart attack in front of him? The shop owner, who was once all pompous, is now literally throwing himself on the ground, begging for forgiveness, my lord. "I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you," he shouts while Ion only watches. He has that look of someone who knows the guy is a major crook. The shopkeeper enters into a wonderful monologue of guilt. He wonders if the problem was stealing that woman's necklace or the outrageous interest rate he charged. And the guy still has the audacity to say his profit is only 4.5% because of compound interest. Ah, great. Now the loan shark wants to act like a saint. He says he barely earns enough to eat. Ionho, who is no fool, just says 4-5%. Then he asks, "And what's the annual rate then?" Prepare your hearts, because the shopkeeper's answer will make Ionho lose the little patience he has left. Oh no, it's too much, at most 60%. He gives the order, "Lock the plaza doors. I will resolve this till the end." What follows is a symphony of screams and the sound of things breaking. The man turned my tail in the solar of the sacred hand. Jin Sounds is there, working late, when she hears knocks on the door. She goes out to see what it is and finds a note with that blue flower necklace the shopkeeper had stolen. Her shock is real. She clutches the necklace to her chest and whispers, "Mom, it seems our protagonist has a heart after all." He not only recovered the item but also delivered it via Sedex Ninja. Ionho is up on the roof, watching everything from afar, with that usual sleepy face, thinking, "I hope this pays for food." We change the scene to the pavilion of the general strategist of the Murim Alliance. Peng Do-sho, the one Yoon saved, is sweating like a lid on a lunchbox. He wonders what he did wrong since he was called by the divine strategist Yoon. The guy enters the room with the posture of someone who controls everything, and he orders Do-sho to sit. Dogu is so nervous he looks like he's about to faint at any moment. What Dogu doesn't know is that he was saved from something much more dangerous than he imagined. The strategist tells it straight. Dogu is very lucky to be alive. Those 10 swords were no joke. They were the elite of the Green Forest disguised as a listening agency. Jo Hyun analyzes the situation with a chilling coldness. He says Dogu is talented but wouldn't be able to defeat any of them alone. And then comes the shock. However, someone defeated the 10 alone and unilaterally. His name is William. Jo Hyun's expression changes immediately. He has seen this name before in messages from the Beggar sect. Joy begins to connect the dots. The second son of the weighty clan Guangdong has really returned. He is impressed that the guy reached this level of martial arts in just 5 years. The older brother Wai Sanho is already a monster, and now the youngest shows up breaking everything. The strategist already senses the smell of chaos in the air. He decides that Clan Y may be the center of all the mess to come. He asks where Yano has gone. Dogeo replies, Solar Damon Sagrada. Jo-yeon finds it strange. Why would someone who returned after 5 years go to Bayan instead of going home? He needs more information. With that smile of someone who has already planned 10 moves ahead, he asks Dugel for help to identify Ion. But let's cut to Ion. Well, he is sleeping on the roof with his mouth open and drooling. Is this your hero? The kid from the Solar sees the scene and gets indignant. He is on the roof without even using a ladder. He is from Marim, but he soon dismisses the idea, thinking that no one who looks like a beggar and sleeps all day could be a master. He must have only learned the basics, thinks the boy, with that classic prejudice of someone who doesn't know the protagonist is the strongest guy in the story. The rest is interrupted because a medical emergency just knocked on the door. Chaos sets in. A group of workers from a quarry arrives, carrying seriously injured people. A rock fell and crushed them. They have no money but beg for help. The little boy from the Solar panics, unsure of what to do, until an authoritative voice cuts through the air. What are you doing, Jin Swar? His sister arrives in full force, ordering to bring the patients inside. Swar is not just a pretty face, she is the medical authority of the place and will not let anyone die on her shift. Swar takes complete control, triaging like a true professional. Separate the patients, the less urgent ones to the rooms, the serious ones first. Ion, who was up on the roof peacefully, wakes up to the noise and becomes curious. What is going on? He watches from above while his sister begins to work on the critical cases. She orders hot water to be prepared. Then she starts using her acupuncture needles with surgical precision. The atmosphere is completely tense. Every second counts to save these lives. Blood spurts everywhere, even splattering her face. She doesn't even blink, focused on saving the man. She shouts to her brother to hurry up and help the other patients. Are you planning to let everyone die? The boy is trembling, trying to help a worker who is suffering terribly. But he clearly does not have his sister's steady hand. And guess who is the only one nearby who can do something? That's right, our favorite slacker. The boy looks at the roof and pleads for help. Ian, with that face of someone who wants to be anywhere but there, comes down to lend a hand. The boy assumes that since Ian is from Murim, he must know about acupressure points. I didn't learn it properly. I'm not sure, Ian says, already trying to dodge. But there is no escape. The boy starts giving technical instructions. Stimulate the Chantu point halfway. And Joao, he is totally. Ian tries to follow along, but the patient begins to have a severe seizure. Every boy panics. Are you sure you pressed the right spot? It's not here. He starts cursing Ian, calling him all sorts of names. Look at the audacity of this kid talking to the master like that. Ian is being humiliated by a child. But the solution the boy is about to propose will turn your stomach. The boy explains that the patient's airways are blocked. He needs to cough up the blood and mucus. Then comes the gem. We're in a hurry, so suck it out with your mouth. Ian's expression is priceless. He looks at the old man covered in blood and thinks, am I really going to have to kiss this old man? There's no other way. The boy insists that if he doesn't do it, the man will die. João, with the disgust that can be felt from here, decides that no kiss will happen. He prepares to handle it his way, and it won't be gentle. Forget traditional medicine. João will use the brute method of saving. The boy shouts, what are you? As João places his hand on the patient's chest, bam! He uses an explosion of internal energy that sends all the blood and trapped mucus flying out like a cannon. The boy is in shock, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets, witnessing that absurd display of power. Ian wiping the blood from his face. With that protagonist pose we love, he delivers the catchphrase. Did you not notice? I am saving a life. The scene shifts drastically to an epic film vibe. Under a full moon worthy of a werewolf, we meet Wai Sanho, the demon-slaying sword. And look, the older brother of our Wai Sanho. The matriarch's letter pulls no punches. My beloved son Sanho, I would love to ask how you are, but the matter is too urgent. Wai Sanho is alive. That's right, folks. The missing one decided to send a sign of life. The Wee family instantly goes into emotional collapse mode. The father, looking like a warrior straight out of a testosterone supplement commercial, is processing. My son has no permission. How dare they? The mother, who truly runs that house, doesn't waste time arguing. She quickly packs her bags instead of shouting. They find out the letter came from Kai Feng from the Raoul sect and decide to head there right now. In the end, we see Sanho clutching the letter to his chest, emotional. He repeats that his brother is alive. It's heart-wrenching, isn't it? But Sanho is not just emotion. He is a warrior. He knows that Kai Feng is no place for leisure. He focuses on the objective. Kai Feng? And why has the mood turned heavy? Because that's where a guy named Zheng Ge is. Who is this guy? We still don't know, but from Sanho's I will end everything expression, it's not good news. He makes a master martial artist leap, exploding the ground and taking off, as if he had a Ferrari engine in his legs. We return to the non-epic reality of Yoon. He's there, lying on the ground, pretending to be asleep. The little doctor, the kid, asks if he's sleeping. The mini doctor isn't fooled and lays it out. How do you want to be a doctor if you don't even trust people? Yoon, who doesn't want conflict with anyone, praises the kid, saying he was a little useful today. The kid is indignant. A little? I saved a whole patient. After a little mockery, Yoon concedes and says he was very useful. All of this so the kid can finally get to the point. Where do you think our problem lies? Yoon looks at him with that knowledgeable face. He reveals the harsh truth that stings the wallet. Eoyeon gets up, he makes that classic sign with his fingers that everyone knows. He drops the bomb, money. The kid looks stunned. That's Eoyeon for you. He calmly repeats, money. The boy tries to argue that medicine is about saving people. He insists that money should be secondary. Ah, the innocence of youth. It's almost cute if it weren't tragic. To open the little grasshopper's eyes, Eoyeon decides to give a history lesson about how his family went bankrupt. The mini-doctor starts to explain that his father was the friendliest man in the world. He had no enemies and treated the poor for free, just like they do now. He shows pictures of his father laughing, surrounded by light, as if he were a saint. They had wealth from generations past, piles of gold. But, surprise, surprise, the gold stock started to dwindle when the kid was born. By the time he grew up, the chest was emptier than a college student's bank account at the end of the month. But it wasn't just charity that brought them down. His father tried a very questionable investment strategy. The boy continues the story saying they spent a lot because they had many doctors. Fame and skill brought in enough money to avoid crushing debt. Eoyeon, having read too many cliches from Manhwa, starts to guess. He was deceived, murdered. The mini-doctor gets offended. What kind of nonsense is this? You read too many novels. He builds up suspense dramatically to reveal the high-risk method his father chose. Hold on to your chin because the revelation is the opposite of Dad of the Year. The family secret is gambling. The kid's father became a gambling addict. He tried to win big to save the family. The guy stopped eating, only drank, and ended up dying from malnutrition and alcohol poisoning. Iono's face says it all. What the hell did I just hear? It's pure defeat juice. The kid then asks how to revive the mansion, since Joe brought a recommendation letter from a great scholar. But our hero is honest. I'm an ordinary person. You should ask a professional about that. And who would that professional be? Joao introduces Rodafum, the owner of the Via Lactea mansion branch. The guy is the visual definition of rich and greedy, all pompous and sweating grease. Eoyeon gets real. You want me to invest in the Sacred Hand Mansion? He explains that the doctors there have skill but zero administrative talent. If Daifun helps with management, money will start pouring in. Daifun makes a face like he's seeing dollar signs in his eyes. He rubs his chin with a smile as if he's already counting the profits. It's capitalism coming in full force into the world of martial arts, folks. But the mini-doctor is not liking this partnership with the enemy at all. The kid freaks out. I don't want to work with him. Yeonho, being the master of pragmatism, says it straight. You have no choice. He is the one with power now. The kid calls Daifun a loan shark, and the fat guy retorts immediately. Loan shark? You guys wasted your money. Yeonho then delivers the final blow to the kid's ego. He explains that the proud ancestors of the mansion only built that fancy pavilion because they charged the patients. No one gets rich giving free treatments, buddy. Reality is going to hit you much more brutally. Now Yeonho continues the sermon. If you are proud of your family, you need to bring in money. People only respect those who have a grand pavilion. He points out that all the families of famous doctors are immensely wealthy. The mini-doctor stands there processing that the world is not a fairy tale. I thought medicine was about people, he whispers. The scene ends with an aerial view of the mansion, showing that despite the history, the place is falling apart. Yeon goes to sleep thinking he was too harsh, but his sleep will last very little. Yeon is there, curled up in his blanket, wondering if he was too heavy-handed with the kid. Oh, whatever. It's not my problem, he says, trying to maintain his detached reputation. But fate loves to ruin his rest. Suddenly, a scream echoes. I told you to come. Yeon jumps out of bed in shock, with that face of someone who just wanted 5 minutes of peace. Outside, chaos is unleashed. A brute is dragging someone and shouting for the lady of the place, Jinharan. Get ready to meet the most sinister debt collector in the region. The intruder is Juagel, known as Black Earth. Jinharan appears all imposing, demanding to know why he is doing this. Juagel doesn't even blink. Oh, so you are Jinharan? No empathy? She asks. The villain sends the reverse logic. Empathy. You borrowed money out of empathy. Your father borrowed money in the name of the mansion. The atmosphere is thick. Yaren is about to lose her patience. Hua Zhoul decides that talking is not enough. He opts for physical aggression. He loses control and starts hitting the staff. He grabs Yaren by the arm with brute force. He makes the most disgusting proposal possible. Since you are beautiful, selling you to a brothel should pay off the debt in about 10 years. Isn't that a great solution? Look at that sadistic smile on this crazy guy. It's that moment when the audience just wants to see him get an epic beating. The mini-doctor, Little Soa, tries to be the hero, but the size difference is unfair. He kicks the kid, sending him flying away. It's nerve-wracking to see a child kicked like that. Yaren screams desperately for her brother while the villain continues his twisted talk, saying that even her shocked face is beautiful. He mocks her, saying her brother should worry about how to use her to make money instead of worrying about her safety. The other patients try to help, but they are all thrown to the ground as if they are worthless. In the midst of despair, one of the patients decides that if he's going to die, he's going to take a piece of the villain with him. One patient jumps onto Huazhou's arm and bites him with all his strength. I'm going to die anyway. I'm taking you with me. The villain becomes furious, but Yaren, seeing that everyone will end up dead because of her, screams for them to stop. Don't touch the patients, I'll go with you. The silence that follows is deafening. The mini-doctor calls for her, but the decision is made. Huazhou lets out a victorious cartoon villain laugh. Yaren begins to say goodbye, thinking this is the end of the line for her. Sweat is pouring down her face. She starts to walk toward the exit with the henchmen, leaving behind a trail of cries and despair. It's that classic sacrifice scene where everything seems lost. But wait, Zhuao feels something. He stops and looks back, with the expression of someone audacious. Someone decided to interrupt the villain's walk, and it wasn't with kind words. You can't go. A voice arises out of nowhere, and we only see a bare foot on the ground. Zhuao. Confused, he asks, who the hell are you? Then, the revelation we've been waiting for. Ionho appears, but not in shiny armor. Instead, all bundled up in a blanket, looking like a giant human burrito. He simply says, I am the crazy Ionho. The guy interrupted a kidnapping using a comforter as a cape. If that's not stylish, I don't know what is. Now it's on. The villain asks why he is getting involved. Our hero, with the biggest cheeky grin in the world, says, who's going to cook for me? The brute gets furious, thinking Ionho is mocking him. Which, let's face it, he is. Did this woman cook for you? Asks the villain, and Ionho, in the most peaceful state of mind, replies, yes, because I am a guest. The heavy Monday vibe reaches its peak. The villain decides he will give our protagonist's stomach an eternal rest. He throws a punch that looks like it will go through the block. But Ionho is no ordinary person. He simply intercepts the blow and returns a hit so sharp that the sound must have been heard in another province. The girl in the background looks pure confusion. What is happening here? The punch landed hard, but will the villain still have teeth to apologize? Crazy, the ground turned into mush. And the best part is the mockery after the knockout. Are you okay? Oh, it wasn't my intention. The villain, now spitting blood and reconsidering all his life choices, realizes he is not dealing with a beggar, but a master. He gets up all battered and with his tail between his legs and asks where this esteemed warrior came from. And Ionho says, I am not a warrior. The guy denies the title just to leave the other even more confused. The brute tries to appeal to the law, saying they have a debt contract and that even the authorities are on their side. It's that tactic of someone who lost the fight and wants to win on paper. Do not interfere in personal matters, he says, trying to maintain a shred of dignity while trembling more than a green twig. But Ionho has a much more creative solution for this debt. He remains steadfast. It's going to be hard not to interfere, because if she leaves, I'll have no dinner. The guy is focused on his diet, there's no way around it. The villain, we now discover, belongs to such a den. The black spider realizes that the hole goes deeper. But Aya cuts the tension with a practical question. The problem is money, right? He proposes the following. He will get the cash and pay the debt in 2 weeks. The dojo master's son appears in the background. He looks puzzled, wondering where this crazy guy is going to get so much money. The villain accepts the deal. I will trust that you will keep your promise. Trust me, buddy. Trust a lot. Scene change. Now we meet Guok Dozan, the leader of the Black Spider's den. The subordinate who got beaten by Aya, Joadiel, arrives all humble to give the report. He is intrigued by the guest's story, who is known to the old master. The atmosphere here is pure underworld gossip. Dozan realizes that things could get complicated if a big shot decided to protect the dojo. Wurjuol tries to explain himself. He says he is not a coward but thought it was better to observe the situation first. It's the classic, I didn't run away, I made a strategic withdrawal. The subordinate thinks he gave a good excuse, but the boss doesn't seem interested in hearing any fisherman's tales. Guok Dozan erupts in anger and throws the food up in the air. You idiot, I told you to go collect the money. Here the mask falls, folks. The debt was just a flimsy excuse to destroy yours, a filthy one, and erase their name from the map. They want the land, not the coins. The boss is so furious that he threatens to cut off the subordinate's tongue. Meanwhile, the villains tremble. Let's see what our hero's foolproof plan is to get that money back to the dojo. Aya is there, lying in complete comfort. Meanwhile, the boy is having a nervous breakdown. What do you plan to do? Didn't you say you would pay the debt? And Aya, with that goldfish memory, replies, I did, kid. The boy almost faints. He thought the hero had a master plan, an ancient strategy. He wants to run away. The boy's despair is priceless. I really trusted someone like you. The little one screams. Meanwhile, Aya only wants to know one thing. How much is the debt after all? The feeling of we're screwed is complete. The boy reveals the loss. 20 nyang of gold. Aya almost falls out of bed. 2,000 silver coins? How does someone accumulate so much debt? Yeon lets out an unbelievable scream. He decides it's no longer possible to stay lying down. He gets up with that look of someone ready to cause trouble. He tells the boy to get ready. We are going to make money. And where are they going? Yeon drops the catchphrase. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. We are going to the place where your father was ruined. He won't just pay the debt. he will destroy whoever caused this. Get the bets ready. Our protagonist is about to enter the lion's den. We arrive at Jambo, the Jange, the secret betting house. The place is pure temptation, filled with smoke. In the back, relaxed as if he owns the world, is Kange Sham Heap, the master of the place. The guy is bored because he has no new ducks to pluck. He even comments that perhaps the rumors of him cleaning out the suckers have spread too much. But his luck changes when a subordinate bursts in, shouting, "Master, one has arrived." The villain's eye even sparkles. "One?" he asks, and the answer is music to his ears. A sucker has arrived. Look at the man's style. Yeon traded his rags for a blue robe, all decked out in elegance. The boy is behind him, terrified, thinking trying to win money back by gambling is the dumbest idea ever. And he isn't wrong, is he? But then the receptionist arrives, that kind of guy who hugs you while robbing your wallet. "Oh, young master, what brings you to this humble establishment?" Yeon perfectly plays the spoiled rich kid. "You know me." And the guy, of course, is already envisioning the profit. Of course, the receptionist starts the tour of temptation. He offers everything. Pie, go, dice, oriampai. Get involved, lose money, they have it. They reach a table where the game looks simple. 2 cups and some iron chips. "What is this? Looks like dice." The employee with that toothpaste commercial smile explains that the game is called Yin and Yang and is the most popular in the house. The guy explains the scheme. You put the iron chips in the containers, shake them up, and they divide between the 2 sides. Then you place a cup on the floor and have to guess whether the number of chips inside is even or odd. "This is incredibly simple," says Joao, pretending to be impressed. The receptionist keeps selling fish. People love it because it's quick. The odds are exactly 50-50. Yaon accepted the challenge. Now let's see if his luck is as great as his audacity. "It's true, I can't stand things that take too long." "Let's try," says Yaon, diving headfirst into the game. The owner of the place, Kengishin Hip, is up there, watching everything with a smile of someone who already won the day. He thinks to himself, hooking a fool is the easy part. Let him lose a bit, win a bit, and then give a giant victory. Before he realizes it, he'll be hooked. He even laughs seeing Yaon supposedly losing. But suddenly the mood changes. The villain's smile vanishes instantly. He lets out an huh of pure shock upon seeing mountains of silver coins piling up on Yaon's table. The fool just broke the bank. Yaon is there, his hand on his face, in the most bored pose, while a mountain of silver coins is in front of him. What an epic turnaround. With the casino broken and the owner in despair, how will Yaon get out of there with all that treasure? Meanwhile, the circus is on fire. Elsewhere, the leader of the Beggar's sect branch, Youngyu, is there, chilling by the pond, enjoying the breeze. He celebrates that he even found a new door that someone tossed away. Ham! Out of nowhere, the piece is shattered, along with the door. Amid the dust, none other than Ai Sonho, the demon-slaying sword, emerges. And, to worsen the despair of our favorite beggar, he is Jung's brother. The guy's gaze pierces the soul. The first question lands like a punch. Is this true? Apparently Jungyu's luck ran out faster than an old cell phone's battery. Despair is real. Jungyu is almost out of breath and begs him to calm down so they can talk. When he is finally released, Sonho realizes the little brother he thought he had lost is still around. Rubbing his neck, he spills the complete gossip. Whoever has that information is the Raoul clan. He grabs the beggar again and says, "Let's go." Now Sonho has not a speck of patience. Jang Yu is being dragged and can only think about how these Ui brothers are complete lunatics. They arrive at the Kaifeng branch of the Hao clan, and the reception is nothing warm. A woman with a look that could kill you in 3 different languages becomes furious. She looks at Jang Yu and starts cursing. The atmosphere heats up so much that all we hear are the sounds of destruction in the background. Meanwhile, the poor homeless man cries for help. Cut to the scene. Joao's opponent is sweating cold. His hand trembles over the dice cup. He thinks this is the biggest bet he has ever seen in his life. Joao is there, looking like he just woke up from a 12-hour nap. Bored, he is just waiting for the guy to roll. The crowd can't believe it. Who is this guy? He has won 9 consecutive games. The result is announced, 4 pairs. Yoon wins again and adds another 1,000 niang to his account. The crowd goes wild, shouting that a god of gaming has come among them. Ionio's assistant is grinning from ear to ear, watching that mountain of silver grow. Ionio has already cleared the table, but it seems the owner of the playground did not like seeing so much money leave like that. Ionio decides he's done for the day. After all, he is almost hitting 20 niang of gold, but just as he is about to get up, the boss Genchang Rip appears. He is the owner of the Golden Flower Mansion. The guy arrives all fake, bowing and saying he did not recognize such a distinguished visitor. But you is one of a kind. He looks at the guy with the greatest desire in the world and says, "I am not a distinguished guest. I am none of that." To top it all off, he adds, "Honestly, I didn't have fun." Imagine the expression on the owner's face hearing that his casino is boring. He tries another tactic. He says a man of Yaon's status deserves a game befitting him, something bigger. He starts describing a match that would shake the hall, with a shine of gold around that could blind you. Yaon makes that interesting face. He looks at the guy, looks at the gold and says, "No, I'm good." He simply starts packing his things and tells the assistant to get the bags ready. The gang's dumbfounded expression is priceless. The guy offered the world, and Aeon just wanted to go home and sleep. The gang is losing his cool. If courtesy didn't work, he would have to resort to cash or a threat. Now gang resorted, but soon he switches back to salesman mode. He offers 5 niang of gold just for him to accept the challenge. Aeon, who is neither foolish nor anything, make the counter offer. Make it 10 and I accept. The gang is shocked by the audacity but agrees. But there's a catch. It's because he has an ace up his sleeve. Or better yet, a master of dice hidden in the shadows. You fell for it, idiot. The gang thinks as they call their champion. From the shadows, a sinister figure emerges. Dokbi, the one-armed king of the game. The guy has a scar on his face and a psychopathic look. He manipulates the dice between his fingers with absurd speed. The crowd in the hall panics just at the sight of his name. He is an urban legend of gambling. Jan looks at him with that face of someone watching a boring commercial on TV. He thinks he doesn't even look like a player. The two sit across from each other. Dokbi, full of himself, says that the player is the one who wins, and that's final. Jan, yawning as if he is in a math class on Monday, asks what he needs to do. Dice? Yanio even questions whether it's too common. But Dokbi asserts that it's in the dice where the difference in skill shows the most. The crowd is already counting Yanio out. There's no way this kid can beat Dokbi. And our protagonist is there, almost dozing off at the table, agreeing that the dice are fairer than these complex games. The rules have been stated. Now it's time to see if Yoon will wake up to life, or if he will lose even his pants. Dokbi explains the basics. The one with the highest total wins. Simple as that, and Unha accepts without even blinking. But then comes the catch. The match continues until one loses, until the last cent. The gang is back there laughing like a hyena, thinking that the plan to bankrupt Yoon is going perfectly. Yoon just says, seems good to me. The guy is way too calm, it's almost nerve-wracking. The game has begun and the crowd is excited. Does Yoon know what he's gotten into? Start the game, shouts the gang. The crowd is cheering and Aeon's assistant is there, all confident, massaging his boss's shoulders and asking if he can handle it. And Aeon says, "Have you ever seen me fail?" Cut to 10 minutes later. Yun has lost 10 times in a row. The mountain of money has vanished. And the assistant is having a nervous breakdown, shouting, "You told me to trust you." With money almost gone, we reach the decisive round. It's now or never. Dokbi announces that this will be the final round. The pot is now 2,000 yang. The crowd around is already laughing at Yun. They say this is why beginners shouldn't bet. He is going to leave owing even his soul. Ian continues with his nonchalant pose, resting his face on his hand. Meanwhile, Dugby prepares for his throw. The villain rolls the dice with all his skill. His gaze is sharp. He observes every movement but doesn't move a muscle. The dice stop and the result is something nobody there thought they would see today. The hall erupts with a perfect score. All sixes. Dokby has rolled the maximum possible score. The gang is already celebrating the victory and asks if Yun wants to continue. Yun, with a sly smile, asks, "Why wouldn't I continue?" The assistant is in tears, but Jun places a hand on his head and asks, "Do you trust me?" The kid, desperate, says yes because he has no other choice. Jun sighs and says nobody has ever said that to him before. He prepares for his role. The atmosphere changes completely. Yun is about to throw, but how is he going to beat a perfect score? Prepare your hearts. He rolls the dice with a force and precision that makes Dokby's eyes widen. The dice roll, and when they stop, the silence is absolute. The people can't believe what they are seeing. The result on the table is described as the lowest score. But wait, how does the lowest number beat the highest? In many of these underground games, there is a special rule where the most improbable result, like all ones, prevails. Yun didn't just win, he humiliated the legend. Helio cleaned house, but winning against dangerous people comes with a price. The scene changes dramatically. We leave the noise of the casino for a dark and silent palace. A mysterious figure sitting on the throne asks who he is. A trembling subordinate, kneeling in fear, replies that they have yet to identify the boy. She gives the order that will change everything. Commanding. Yun thought he would leave rich and go to sleep, but now he has a giant target on his back. The woman wants no loose ends. The subordinate still tries to argue, saying they don't know how skilled Yun is, but she doesn't want to hear any excuses. Pathetic. I will send real men. We're out of time. With a cruel smile, she orders, "Invade a place and kill." The chapter ends with Yoon's face still bearing that calm expression, but with the assistant and the crew in the background, completely shocked. The chapter begins with that vibe of things went wrong family. Look at the faces of that crowd in the audience. They look like they've turned into ghosts, but in reality it was something much worse. Bad luck incarnate. The dice rolled and man, Yoon managed to achieve the feat of rolling the awans. Yes, the lowest possible score. It's that moment when you want to stick your head in a hole and disappear. Yoon is there with a face of what now? Dokbi, with that little smile of someone who already knew he would come out on top, says, "You got unlucky," with the most shameless face in the world. Yoon, still keeping his cool, asks, "What happens now?" The owner of the booth, with that vibe of a loan shark who doesn't forgive even his own shadow, immediately warns that money is gone. He says that Yuanho only needs to pay back the 10 niangs of gold he borrowed. But Yuanho is not the type to accept game over so easily. What he says next is going to leave everyone speechless. That's not what I meant. I'm asking how much I need to keep playing. Guys, check out the audacity of this kid. The booth owner, already seeing his profits rise, responds with a greedy little smile. 40 niangs. Yuanho, carefree, asks if he can continue if he has the 40. And the owner of course agrees immediately. He says that the betting house doesn't work without trust and that everyone there is a witness. It's the classic, the scam is there, only the fools fall for it. He turns to the side and says, come in. But who the hell is he calling to this den of iniquity? And out of nowhere enters Radefun, from the Galactic Center, with 2 bodyguards who look like wardrobes, carrying chests that shine brighter than the future of many. Yuanho, with the most brazen face in the world, still complains, why did it take so long? I almost became a slave because of the money I lost. Now look at the booth owner's face. The guy is sweating cold. The color has drained from his face. He recognizes Radefun and doesn't understand anything. Why are you here? He asks, already smelling the loss. He explains that he is there at the request of his guest. He took time because he needed to bring everything in physical gold. Iango feels that now the game is for big players. He remembers that the minimum bet is double the last round, right? He also says, let's add a little more, with a look that says, I will destroy your financial life today. Iango lifts his pinky and drops the bomb. The next amount is 100 yang in gold. The owner of the table is in shock, stuttering, did you say 100? And Yang, the master of provocation, says, why are you scared? He rushes to ask Doc B, the supposed king of the game, if he can handle this. Doc B asks if the boss is doubting him. They decide to continue. The atmosphere in the audience is hotter than a Sunday barbecue. Doc B, realizing that the situation is more serious, asks Iango if all of this was part of his plan. Iango goes for that classic protagonist reply that we love to hate and asks what Doc B is talking about. The villain insists, I am asking if you lost the previous rounds on purpose. Our protagonist's response is golden. Who would do something crazy like that? He even throws in an excuse about his mother, saying she always taught him that no matter what he is doing, he should have plenty of money. He rolls the dice with a technique that makes the audience's eyes pop. The fate of 100 yang in gold is spinning on the table. The result will leave everyone breathless. 6, 6, 6, another 6. Man, Yang is on fire. He scores 5 sixes in a row. The audience is ecstatic, shouting that even against Doc B this score can win. But then the last die falls and it's a 5. Oh, what a shame, it should have been a 6, the crowd also shouts. But hold on, 35 points is still an absurd score, just one less. What a pity. Iango, the master of sarcasm, says he doesn't know what they are talking about, and that 35 is quite a high number to achieve. But now it's Doc B's turn to roll. If he gets a 36, the house will fall for our protagonist. The game is not over yet. The so-called king of bets, Doc B, has decided to activate his anime villain mode with full force. He rolls the dice with the pose of someone who knows that the script is on his side. And bam! 5 dice landed on the number 6. Crazy, the guy got the highest score possible. The crowd around him is going wild. And look at the state of the kid with our protagonist. The poor guy is about to have a fit, sweating profusely and remembering that if they lose they will be poorer than Saki. But then comes Ue's boldness. While the world is collapsing, he turns to the kid with the most casual expression and asks, does your sister dance well? The last die is still spinning. The result will leave everyone in shock. The silence in the room is so intense that you can hear the bystanders' thoughts. Everyone is fixated on that last die, which seems to be spinning in slow motion just to torture us. And when it finally stops, it's a 4. Doing the math quickly, that makes 34. Ion won by just 1 point. Do you have any idea what this means? It's the famous protagonist's luck or pure hidden skill. The crowd is in shock, screaming that the kid is a monster. And now, how does it feel for those who thought they were taking our hero's soul? That chubby guy who was almost calling for Ionho to be arrested now approaches sweetly, calling him young master. Meanwhile, the atmosphere among the losers is funeral-like. Doc Bai's boss is having a nervous breakdown. The betting king, who was all pompous, now looks like he ate something bad. He admits that if he is the king, then the kid is the god of betting. The loss was so massive that the guy can already see his life flashing before his eyes. Debts settled, pockets full. The master of Solon, seeing that the situation is resolved, makes an official announcement for everyone to hear. William's debt to Sola de Flor Dorada is officially cleared. Doc B, in a rare moment of dignity, gives a martial salute, acknowledging that it was a good game. Iene, maintaining his class, returns the gesture. Money secured, honor restored. Our hero just wants one thing, food and a bed. He admits that he is exhausted. The kid accompanying him is even worse off, saying he almost died just watching. They decide to leave to find a place to eat, but we know that in Manhwa rest is brief. They barely take 2 steps outside, and fate has decided to put a big obstacle in the way. When they thought they would have a quiet dinner, they ran into a group of unfriendly-looking guys blocking the path. Master Ra immediately identifies them. They belong to the sect from the Dark Earth branch. Their leader, a guy with a sinister scar and a look that doesn't know the word mercy, directly asks who Ionu is. But then the story jumps to another place. In the middle of the night, a girl asks a mysterious man if he is Yunu's older brother. He confirms and wants to know where the younger brother is. She explains that he went to Rube with the Fast Dragon escort agency. The big brother doesn't seem to be joking. He decides to go to Rube right now, without wasting time. But his partner, a beggar who's in terrible shape, falls into total despair. The guy starts to make a scene in the middle of the street. He screams that he'd rather be killed than walk another kilometer. He complains that he ran the whole way without water or food, and now the other guy wants to cross the map. It's pure drama. The girl, seeing that deplorable scene, even feels sorry and insists that they rest, eat, and take a shower, because it would be rude of her to let guests leave like that late at night. The big brother tries to refuse, but the beggar begs so much that he ends up giving in. And it's in that shower that we're going to discover that this family's DNA is made of pure steel and scars. In the shower, the beggar is there, all happy, enjoying the hot water. He comments that the leader of his sect would freak out if he saw the beggar bathing. But then Johano's brother rises from the water. And my friend, this guy is a tank. The partner asks if one of those scars was caused by the so-called ghost demon without a tail, a beast that nearly sent him to Vasco in the past. The mood gets serious at once. We realize this guy has been through battles that would make anyone shake in their boots. The scar from that fight against the demon is nothing compared to another one he has. He points to a huge mark on his chest. The beggar is in shock, asking which demonic martial artist would have done that. The brother gives a sad smile and reveals the truth no one expected. It was a scar that my little brother made, when he still didn't know how terrifying a sword could be. As he says this, the scene cuts to Ian, back in the betting hall. With that calm look, a crazy guy with a scar on his face, looking like he hasn't slept in 3 days, arrives asking who that Ionio is. Our protagonist, with the calmness of someone who has completed life, just raises his hand and says, "It's me." The villain, of course, goes into shock. He looks at Ionio and thinks, "Are you serious? This kid is the genius messing up my plans." The villain decides that, kid or not, Ionio will have to pay for meddling where he shouldn't. The swords start to come out of their sheaths, but our hero, with infinite patience, asks for a moment. What is he plotting? The guy simply turns to the side, hands a paper to a kid, and tells him to sign. "Sign here, I'll explain later," he says, with that vibe of someone who knows exactly what he's doing. "How much does your Oksu Jung owe you again?" The villain, thinking he has the upper hand, gives the price. 20 bars of gold and 50 silver coins. That's a lot of money, right? But then comes the satisfying moment. The hero simply kicks 2 chests full of gold in front of the crazy guy. The hero says, "For real, it's paid. Sign the writing certificate and get out of here." The villain is there, drooling over the gold, but tries to keep his cool, saying that this pocket change doesn't solve everything. Ah, great, now his money has become pocket change. But the villain wants more than just money. He wants total control. And this is when the flimsy excuse appears. But then that gossiping henchman whispers in the master's ear and tells him the truth. "Boss, if we accept the money, they'll be free and we'll rebuild. We want their place." The villain changes his mind faster than a politician during election time. He starts to stutter, saying that the debt is a matter for later. The hero realizes that there is no reasoning with these people and asks, "So, in the end, do you want to fight?" The villain gives that smile of a rotten toothpaste commercial and says it's not a fight, it's punishment. The command comes out cold. "Bring me the head of this brat." And here come the purple ninjas after our boy. "You guys will regret this." When Ion says this, they all attack at once. But our hero blocks everything with such ease that it's infuriating. The shock on the guys' faces is priceless. Like, how did he stop 4 swords with one hand? Then he unleashes a strike that looks like a blue energy explosion. It's a punch to the face, its impact everywhere. The villain in the back can only scream, "What is this?" "Well, buddy, this is what we call an overpowered protagonist." The guy wiped the floor with the henchman without even sweating his kimono. But hold on, the villain still has an ace up his sleeve. Or rather, some pretty sinister guests hidden in the shadows. With no way out, he calls the honored guests. Suddenly, a few guys in black with straw hats appear, giving off a vibe of "I kill people for fun." Ion looks at one of them and feels a deja vu, asking if they know each other. But the assassin isn't in the mood for chit-chat. He launches an attack at the speed of light. The hero dodges just in time, showing that the game has changed sides. Ion has just identified a fighting style that brings back very dark memories, a technique meant purely for killing. And then comes the snap. This is the dark sword technique. At that moment, the hero remembers his master's words, or that voice in his head that always gives epic advice. The master explains that there are martial arts designed only for assassination, used by mercenaries who have taken many lives. Ion's gaze changes completely. The knife in the skull mode has been activated successfully. With the calmest demeanor in the world, he turns to the side and says, "Sir, lend me a sword." The extra, who isn't foolish, hands over the weapon instantly. He begins to unsheathe the blade with that metallic sound that already warns someone is going to have a bad time. He's still polite, you know. He warns everyone to back off because the noise is going to be loud. Look at the kid's confidence. Meanwhile, the masked figures, who aren't that stupid, realize that Ion is not just some nobody. They forget the playfulness and attack everyone together. It's the classic, when technique doesn't work, go for numbers. But does quantity beat quality when it comes to Yaon? Hold on, because the master is going to give a lesson. Yaon closes his eyes and enters a state of peace that I can't achieve even after meditating for 10 years. He starts to remember his master's lessons. The ghost of the old man appears in his mind, telling him not to get stuck in fixed forms or styles. And Eon, with that prodigy swagger, simply responds, I know, the masked ones charge forward with everything. But Ayanyan is there, standing still. He exudes a blue energy that shines brighter than a gamer PC's LED light. He starts to repel the attacks as if swatting away mosquitoes, all with great elegance. The manual on how to be a monster in martial arts has more pages. The master continues narrating the tutorial in Yoon's head. Even when the enemy's blade gets close, his heart cannot waver. He is strictly following the idea of having a mind as cold as ice to respond to any situation. Now comes the next step of the training. Put your heart into the sword. He grips the weapon's hilt with a firmness that sends chills down the spine. He is not just holding a piece of metal, he is connecting with the thing. This is when the real light show begins. If you thought he was already bare, just wait to see what happens when he puts his heart into the game. He makes such a brutal move that the enemy's swords simply shatter, as if made of cheap glass. The impact is so great that the ground kicks up dust and the guys fly all over the place. One of the masked ones tries an attack from behind, but Yoon, with a swift and precise move, ends the guy's bravado. Blood splatters everywhere. Meanwhile, the master delivers the catchphrase, what I taught you is not a technique. If this is not a technique, then I am an astronaut. What this kid does is pure art of destruction, and it is not technique. What the hell is this thing Ian is using to wipe the floor with these guys? The master explains that what he gave to Ian was a seed that can sprout into anything. In other words, the kid has infinite potential. He said that the perfect sword is created only by the heart of the one who wields it. And look at this visual, everyone. Ian is surrounded by an aura of light swords that looks like a constellation. Ian is at the center of it all, carrying an energy that would make any final RPG boss cry in the shower. The master gives the final command, create a sword that belongs only to you. Ian accepts the challenge, elevating his power to a level we didn't even know existed. The glow is so intense that there must be people going blind just from looking. Now prepare your hearts, because the final blow will be jaw-dropping. Ian brings down the hammer of judgment. He releases an explosion of energy in the shape of a cross. It cleans the map. The masked ones are all on the ground moaning in pain. And look at the detail. The master's aura appears giant behind Ioyao, as if giving a seal of approval. Ioyao, with that cold gaze of someone who shows no mercy, delivers the verdict. I cut your meridians and sealed your martial arts. Translating to clear Portuguese, he gave these guys a permanent ban from being fighters. They will never be able to hold a sword or hurt someone again. It's a death sentence for those who live by violence. The boss who sent these guys will watch from the VIP section. Ioyao ends the sermon by telling the guys to live paying the price for oppressing others just because they had power. He looks at the masked ones and thinks, these guys seem familiar for some reason. But soon he shrugs it off, with that laid-back manner he always has. He decides he will figure this out another day. Priorities, right? The guy who was once full of bravado is now trembling like a green reed and calling Ioyao young master. Ioyao, with all the calm in the world, explains his master's philosophy. If someone messes with you and you do nothing, it's a personal insult. And look at the villain's audacity, folks. He throws out that classic excuse, people make mistakes. Ioyao doesn't buy that story for a second and delivers the truth. Who will believe you after everything you've done? Ioyao's eye for an eye is on a level no one expected. The villain finally understands what Ioyao meant by eye for an eye and goes into a panic. He asks, sweating bullets, if Ioyao will take away his ability to use martial arts. Basically a forced and painful retirement. And Ioyao, he says, you nailed it, with such a cute sly smile that it's almost scary. The guy still tries to beg for another way out, but our hero just makes an X sign with his fingers. The result, a scream of damn, this is Kyo-A for heaven's sake. And out of nowhere, a gigantic explosion of light makes the building look like it was hit by a meteor. The villain collapses, unconscious. And Ioyao, without even wiping the sweat from his forehead, turns to the remaining subordinate and says, now Migi, go straight to their base, because Ioyao doesn't do half measures. And let's shift to a beautiful sunset scene. We find a stunning young woman, Soa's sister. Looking at the horizon with a totally worried expression, she wonders where her brother is. Then, the silence is broken by a scream. Sister! He nearly knocks down the gate. It's Soa, arriving at full speed with a smile from ear to ear. He asks if she has any idea what he did. The kid is more excited than a child on Christmas Day. But is the news really that good? Or did he just get into more trouble? The sister looks at Soa, not understanding all that excitement. Then he drops the bomb. We paid all our debts. The scene cuts to a wonderful full moon night. The realization finally hits her. Seriously? She asks, still in disbelief. Soa confirms, all proud, saying they are finally free and it's all thanks to Mr. Y. She visibly relaxes, joins her hands as if thanking the heavens, and says they owe him a lot. But oh, keep an eye out, because her expression changes quickly. The peaceful atmosphere lasts little, as she begins to think about how that money came about. The sister starts her sermon, saying it was wrong to try to pay the debt through gambling. Soa tries to defend himself, but she doesn't want to hear it. She says she will let it go this time, since he wasn't the one gambling, but prohibits him from going near a betting house again. Soa, poor thing, feels indignant and asks if the method matters so much when the result was their freedom. Then comes her powerful line. A person who doesn't walk the orthodox path is destined to hit a wall. She brings up what their father went through. But Soa explodes and screams that, if it weren't for this, she would have been dragged into a brothel. Soa feels like his effort was thrown away. Will this fight separate them for good? Soa points to where they are and states the truth. If they had done it her way, they would be stuck there forever. He questions if all this rigidity is truly for his own good. The sister stands there, looking like she just got slapped with reality. The camera pulls away and shows the two under the moonlight, each in a corner. But the story doesn't pause for mourning. The scene cuts to the Grand Relinho Institute in the pine forest. We are greeted by a well-dressed gentleman who welcomes the visitors. And who shows up? Ejian Han, the older brother of our protagonist. He is accompanied by a guy with spiky hair. The host already knows who he is. He says that since he is the brother of Sir Wee, Ion is a guest of honor. John Han, always very polite, apologizes for any rudeness his brother may have committed. He asks if John Han knows the concept of great potential. He warns that Ion is not someone who can be restricted. He said that if John Han tries to mold his brother to his expectations, he will end up ruining the boy. The master uses a metaphor about a horse being squeezed into a small house. He contrasts it with a horse running free across the plains. The message is clear. Yanho needs space to shine or he will end up breaking. Joao listens to everything with a face of someone processing very difficult information. He thanks for the consideration. He says he will think about the advice. They say goodbye. As they walk through the forest, his companion asks why he looks so discontent. They have been well fed and rested. Joao is in a huge internal conflict. It's that classic dilemma of an older brother wanting to protect but ending up suffocating. John Han's partner decides to speak about John Ho. The guy says he only treated John Ho well because he is John Han's brother. Otherwise, he wouldn't even consider him a human being. He begins to list the attributes of our lazy and evil hero as if he were from Murim, unorthodox, smarter than a politician, extremely annoying. The guy only stops talking because John Han signals for him to shut up. The older brother is deep in thought. He concludes that normal people cannot see John's talent behind this facade of laziness. And there he is, young Ho, waking up with a yawn that almost dislocates his jaw. He wonders how long he has slept. He complains about that sleep training. The guy says he got beaten in his dream and now feels like he has been beaten in real life. He barely stands up and runs into Soa's sister kneeling on the ground. She starts with a very serious talk, saying that what he did for them is greater than anything. She says she will never be able to repay him. He tells her to get up quickly, but she ignores him and asks for a favor with a face that looks like she's about to ask for something impossible. Yanho thinks he is being cursed by ancestors. What does this woman want from him now? The sister gets straight to the point. Please change Soa's mind. She explains that he needs to inherit the mansion of the Holy Hand. He must revive the family and restore their honor. According to her, the boy is shaken. Inyuho, who is no fool, feels confused. He asks if becoming a great doctor and reviving the mansion are not two different things. He questions what is more important. Does he have to choose one? The sister falls silent dramatically. She looks at him with those piercing eyes and drops the bomb. The priority is the rebirth of the mansion of the Holy Hand. Priorities, right? The family's honor above the boy's vocation. The sister has a plan, but Inyuho seems to have a much simpler idea. What could he be plotting? Then, with that little smile of someone who has already solved the puzzle, he says there is a truly simple solution to this. He points a finger, makes a charming gesture, and the scene cuts to a nighttime view of a bustling city. We have Gina Nang, the leader of the Raoul sect in Kaifeng, biting her lips in anger. She is furious because she did not kill a beggar, and complains about someone bringing the demon-slaying sword there. She is ready to smash everything, but is interrupted by a desperate subordinate warning her that there is a problem. And what problem? Zhuamhain, Eon's brother, enters the room with all the grandeur of a lord. Zhuamhain, without trembling, introduces himself. I am Zhuamhain. His name has an immediate impact. The villain's reaction is priceless. Zhuamhain, the just and chivalrous swordsman. The guy puffs out his chest, strikes a hero's pose like an anime, and shouts, "Yes, it's me." But then reality hits. The woman with him, Sangaren, simply slaps him in the face and says, "Get out of the way." She says they are already too busy and asks why he wants to show off. Joao Garin deflates completely. Even the villain is confused. She wonders if this guy being humiliated is really a legendary swordsman. The epic mood was thrown in the trash in 2 seconds, but Sangaren did not come to play. She has a very serious question to ask. Yoon sent us a letter from here, and look at the smile she gives, folks. It's that smile that says, "I know what you did last summer, and I will break you if you lie." How will the villain explain that their brother caused total chaos? Don't miss the next chapter of this period gossip.